two, which is it's like a binary switch.
The damn game warden was under the bridge with his binoculars looking, and
Other fish, I guarantee it was anywhere from 10 to 12. And you know the 10XD hooks, they're like, it was a stock hook, but they're like stout, dude. It opened up a 10XD hook.
Don't ever cook bacon naked.
Every single time I join into this thing. Probably one of the most fun conversations I've ever had with Bobby, and the funny part is like it kept going like that for another like 45 minutes after the live stream. Like, because Bobby, like,
Yes. Dude, I love talking to Bobby, dude. He can carry a conversation like nobody's business. Like I'll get on the phone with him and I feel like I'm annoying him, but then like is like fully enthralled in whatever I'm talking about, or at least like fully listening, and then like he's like come back talking back with everything, and I'm like, oh my God, like he's very, very good at conversation because I'm
absolutely.
a squirrel. I'm a squirrel. I'm everywhere. So.
So yeah, we're a little bit late, guys. I was getting home late. We had some audio issues, and it's always funny to me. And I don't know if you've noticed this from the guests that you've had. So for those of you who don't know, since the last time we talked to Mr. Wolf of Walmart, he got into the podcast game a little bit too. And the one thing that I've noticed is it seems like the people who do podcasts are the least prepared to jump on someone else's podcast. You ever notice that? Like, it seems like they're always like, hold on, my stuff's not set up. And it's like, dude, you have a mic and a camera and everything for this.
Dude, absolutely. It was super funny. Bobby, I was having Bobby as a guest, Bobby Rosie, and he forgot. And he took this huge edible right before he went on the show. And then he's like, oh shit, I'm logging in. I was like,
Yo, dude,
it was
it's the
so
funniest thing.
good.
Guys who do podcasts always are the ones that are late too.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny.
Yep.
Like, it's Zach's like that. Like, Zach will show up at like right before you're supposed to be there. But then, like, the funny part is he's like, he's ready at least though. Like, he shows up and he's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, okay,
Yep.
yeah, we're ready.
Yep. Yeah.
But,
Yeah, dude. I don't know what's going on with my audio. I got to get that figured out. I don't know if it's a port in my computer or whatever it happens to be, but I've been struggling with the audio like my guests. Like I have the guests coming through the computer speakers
yeah.
now. And then but my mic register, it's just I'm not technical, dude. I bang hammer and nails. Like
Dude, you know what's funny is I'm technical, but the problem is there's some stuff when it comes to audio specifically in computers. It's like you could fight it for hours and then all of a sudden it just starts working and you just got to back away slowly and you have no idea what you did to fix it. And then the next time it happens, you're like, I have no idea what I did last time. So how do I do that? So it's just this battle of attrition. Basically, you just keep trying things until it works. And then it's kind of like the old like TV antenna where you just like keep turning it till you find a station and then the kid's got to stand there holding it because if he moves, it's going to start getting fuzzy again.
the fucking coat hanger and tinfoil.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah, it's like, hold on, don't move, don't move. They just scored a
yeah.
touchdown. I got to see what the score is. Yeah. So
I
we
just
were
think
actually
I didn't
talking in the green room, dude, about kayaks, but you got your kayak set up now.
Yeah, it's rigged. I just got a motor and a battery too. So, dude, it is. I mean, thank you, Kayak City, and thank you, Ramel over at Newport. Like, I, I'm super grateful. I set all that stuff up. I will be putting videos out about it soon. But at the same time, I was also working on this XTR plate and like trying to get it all ready because I kind of, me and James at the shop, like James kind of was like, hey, why don't you make the plate do this? And I was like, what a genius idea. So I came up with a way to make the whole nose of the kayak a plate so that way you could turn your trolling motor because nobody's
Yeah.
turned them yet. So yeah, I'm in multi-project. So my kayak videos for my personal kayaker on the back burner, you know. So
Dude, I have so many. So I've said this a few times on the live, and you guys kind of know it. So January 31st, there's a trade show in Massachusetts. It's New England show, and that is like our big one in the Northeast. And they have at least like 3, 4 kayak dealers that go to this every year, and they
yeah,
usually have the show discount. You know, like last year they had literally a Titan X. I'm pretty sure it had an NK 180 on it for like $2,700. They didn't have a battery with it,
wow.
but it was the motor and the kayak. But I don't care, dude. For that price, I buy the battery, and I'm still into it less than the retail cost of the kayak originally. So like,
Yep, you're still under by 300. That's
They
dope.
had Hobies and Old Towns and stuff, but they had them like some of them were way out priced, but like some of these things had like full light systems and like freaking
Showboats.
XI3s and shit. You know, they're
Yeah.
showing off a little bit. So if I can get somewhere around the $3,000 mark and pull out of there, I know I'm pretty much locked into the new Nissan engine. That's not the Titan that I'm getting. It's the native Titan X. Vote is picked, but I am going to be making a bunch of content. I am going to rig this thing heavily. It's not going to get I'm calling it not getting a motor. It's getting a motor, but it's not getting a proper motor this year. What I'm going to do is I have a 12-foot rowboat that I like to use for like other things, multi-species, and also when it gets rough, I can take it out on bigger water. But it only has a 9-horse gas motor on it, and a 9-horse gas motor on a 12-foot rowboat is too OP, and it ends up being like I can't go from spot to spot because I need to go 4 miles an hour or no miles an hour because the motor doesn't really go slow. So I'm gonna get like a tiller trolling motor to start. That way I can use it on both, and then once I have the money to upgrade to an actual kayak motor, then I'll go that route. But then I can just get a 12-volt, couple $100, tiller motor, and with that Titan, I'll be able to just turn the seat and just run that motor to get spot to spot, and then pedal around once I get there.
So I got a question for you then. If you're running a tiller motor, because most of those have like a transom mount, are you going to get like a backplate mod with a transom on it so you can
So I
run
was
it? Or?
looking at, and I was looking at some of the Yak Gadget stuff, and I might be able to. It's not designed necessarily for that, but they have some plates and mods that they put for motors that I could drill my own holes and then put it where the actual motor mount goes on the back. You know what I mean? So then I could actually. Another option, which I don't like the idea of, is a lot of guys will actually put a bar across the tracks. So what they'll do is they'll actually get a bar that goes across the tracks and then mount it right here.
Yeah.
But it tends to kind of list your kayak a lot to one side, and I don't like that. So more or less, I'm going to build a redneck transom.
Yep.
I may even talk to JT and see if it's something that he either has a design for or has an idea or a plan to make at some point. Because there is guys that do. There's guys in our trail, and there's other guys that do use because you could use it like especially with the Titan X because of the swivel seat. I could literally turn backwards and drive. I don't need an extender arm or anything fancy. I can turn sideways, reach over, and just sit sideways to get to my spot, and then turn around and fish, and the nice thing about that seat spinning backwards is I could turn around and raise and lower that motor and not need like steering arms or foot steering or anything like that for a tiller motor. Cause it's not something I want to build anything in because it's not a long-term solution. It'll get me a motor for this tournament season. And then next year I'll just put that motor on my cause I burnt my motor up in my rowboat. It actually caught fire in middle of a video.
Oh,
you don't really see it, but you see me like it's funny in the video. It's actually a series I'm releasing. So I'm doing a series on a lake that I suck at, and it's literally like my challenges of like conquering this lake. And I took the rowboat out because it's a big body of water, and I was like, I'll use the rowboat and I use this trolling motor. My brother had rigged up a Minn Kota trolling motor with an actual dial, so that you could have the motor way in the back of your kayak and still turn the speed up and down. Instead of the tiller, he actually rigged a dial into that. Well, that cool. dial that he rigged up, he wired it into a box, and the box caught on fire inside the box. So you don't see flames in the video, but what you see is me looking at the motor and it shuts off, and I'm kind of pissed off and I'm screwing with it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Turn the motor back on. Now, keep in mind, the dial broke, so I'm using like a small clamp, like a small C clamp on the dial. This is redneck is all redneck, right?
Yes.
And I'm like clicking a C clamp, like I'm counting, okay, that's 3 clicks because I have no idea what's on, off, because it's just a rotary switch. So like I can turn it too far. It just
Uh-huh.
keeps going around or back until it runs out of like threads, and then it will fall out. So I turn it on and I'm like, okay, I'm driving, I'm riding along, and I ran it for a while. It was hot out that day and it smelled a little hot, but I was like, well, it's electric motor. I'm running it hot. It's like a 30-pound thrust motor, so it's not super powerful. And then I started smelling it hot, and then I look at the motor and the motor dies. And I'm talking while this happened. I'm like, yeah, guys, so what we're doing is we're going to move over here and and I'm like, what the hell? Motor shut off. So I'm messing with the motor. I'm screwing with it. What you don't see in the video is next to me, I see smoke rolling out of this fucking box. So I actually jumped up to the front of the kayak because again, redneck, but like I know boats. So like I didn't wire my battery to actual like terminals. I had gator clips so that I could just disconnect power real quick if I need to. So I just reached down and just grabbed the gator clips off the battery to stop setting power through. Because I'm like, okay, I'm in the water. So worst case scenario, if this actually goes up, I can just throw the whole fucking harness right in the water and put it out. And yeah, dude. So now I don't. It probably be fine to just rewire the actual tiller handle because it wasn't the motor that was smoking. It was the control box.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Yeah.
how much of that electrical issue sparked up into the motor, and it could have caused issues with them because the motor did shut off. But I don't know if it shut off because the power was cut off because I melted my connections inside or what. But so it's one of those like I'm just gonna buy a new motor that I don't have to worry about somebody like. My brother used it for a long time and it was a good motor, but it was as redneck engineered as possible. So I'm like, you know what, I can get I was looking on Bass Pro, like I can get like a Newport 55-pound thrust 12-volt tiller motor for like $100, $150, you know, like, and it's it's a brand that I know, you know, so
perfect. Because that's what I was going to say. Newport has one for like a couple $100, right?
Mhm.
That they make a transom mount that goes in your pedal drive.
And see, I thought about that, but the whole thing about me getting a motor, and this is actually an argument I had on Facebook this week, so it's perfect. Almost got put in Facebook jail for this one. So I won't buy a like if the reason I buy the specific kayaks I buy is for the redundancy of the pedal drive. So in order to do that transom mount through because you can get that is cool, and I definitely have thought about that. The problem with that is I have to then either stash my drive somewhere in my kayak because I still want to use the drive. Like I don't want to rely on. I grew up in boating, and I want the redundancy. I want the redundancy of worst case scenario. I'd have to have an electrical issue and break both my legs to not be able to get to shore. Whereas by replacing that drive, now I've got to paddle home, and I fish shitty conditions, and Murphy's Law says that when that motor fails is not going to be on the day where it's like sunny and calm. It's going to be in that day where I've been fighting 4-foot rollers all day, and then the motor's going to die, and I'm going to have to try to paddle home into a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, you know. So it's like I like the redundancy of the pedal drive, so that's why I want to put. Eventually, my goal is I was going to do the XI3, but those are going those are going to go. If you guys can, I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys are thinking about buying one and you have the money, you're going to want to go get one now because the price of those things is going to fucking double soon. As soon as people figure out that they can't get those anymore, it's not that they're not a good motor and it's not that they're not reliable, and the parent company still exists, so I'm willing to bet you they're still going to sell parts for them. The fact is, though, the motors are going to go from like $1,300 to $2,000 to $3,000 because they're not going to have them, and guys are going to gouge them. So
they'll sell you one that's got like maybe 200 hours on it for fucking $2,500. You know, you're like, all right,
you're gonna. So I really so the motor for me is more about tournament fishing. It's more about, okay, I'm fishing a big body of water and I want to go fish that island. That's where I want to start my tournament. I don't want to be exhausted because that island is 2 miles from the ramp before I even start my tournament because I have to pedal a 2-mile pedal to get to that spot to then start fishing. So by being able to, like Rudd, perfect example, when you watch Rudd's video, you just see him or Bailey. Bailey does the same thing. Like you watch him and they're just chilling and relaxing, or Reagan. while they're heading to
Yep.
the next spot. Not having to focus on pedaling my butt off to get all the way to the next spot. That's what I want it for, is to be able to shoot from spot to spot. And then when I get there, kill it, raise it, pedal around, do my thing, use my legs as my spot lock, and then go to the next spot with the motor. And then that allows me to do that. So like NK180, I don't necessarily think I need a 300. They're cool as hell, but I don't think I need that much power. That's a lot of power. But to be honest, the price isn't much different between the two of those when you look at it. And that's something that's like, is it worth not this? You get the 180 Pro to the 300s, like not that much different.
Couple
Price-
$100, yeah. And
Yeah.
you get almost double the motor.
Double the motor.
So right. So then you look at least the way I look at it is I look at weight, right? So if I'm going to be, 'cause don't get me wrong, I got an NK180, I love it. But the NK300, you're pushing a 12-foot beast kayak. If you're looking at this
100
Titan, you're
I think it's
pushing a lot of weight, bro.
170 pounds, I think is what it says rigged. Yeah.
Right. And you rig it out fully and you have all this extra weight. So then you're looking at, okay, the 180 can push all this because, I mean, it's just gliding across the water. Make sure your pedal drive's like up or out of the way so there's less resistance type thing. But you're still looking at pushing it pretty hard, right? You're pushing that NK180 pretty hard as compared to where if you threw the 300 on there, you're not pushing that motor as hard. You're scooting faster, and it has no problem hauling all the weight.
It's actually using less battery too because it's not working as hard. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But your battery's bigger and your motor's bigger, so you're adding to your overall rig weight. So it's like one of those cost benefit analysis is like, can I get this on and off the boat or on and off the truck, on and off the trailer? Can I get this in here and out of here easily? Yes. Okay, cool. Then motor weight doesn't really matter.
So I'm not gonna lie, dude. So my Old Town, I will say, like my Old Town obviously is a lighter kayak than the Native. But the way I have it rigged, it's not that much lighter because the new kayak's rigging is going to be different. I told you I sent that email today. There's a lot of components that I'm going to be getting that are going to lighten it up. Like my crate is that Milwaukee tool crate. It's the pack out crate. That crate alone probably weighs 10, 15 pounds. Like those crates are heavy because it's a heavy duty plastic. So I'm thinking about like the Yak Gadget crate because that's a lot lighter, the plastic that they use, and that thing is going to be a big upgrade in my mind.
Oh yeah, I love my Yak Gadget crate. That was like one of my favorite things that I got from there is that crate.
And especially because again with the spinning seat, with those being able to stack them like facing me, the biggest problem I have with my current crate is that you pull out a box in the front and then the other boxes fall down. And then they like fall down and then they get sideways, or you try to put them back. Like it doesn't, the way I have it configured isn't conducive to having multiple boxes because they're domino down. Whereas if I could shelve them and stack them, then I have a little bit more organization. And with that Native, I'm going to have the ability, I'm going to have room on the sides of me. See, that's the thing. It sounds really stupid to anybody who doesn't fish from a kayak or doesn't understand. But having a space between your seat and your gunnel of your kayak is a huge thing. Because with the Old Town, the gunnel is the side of the seat. Yeah. There is no gap. So being able to put like a plastics bag right there, like a bait bag, or even like, and the fact that the Native Titan has the 3600 box slots in the front, that means now I can put what I like to do is I pack what I call my day box, which is like a couple crankbaits, a couple swim jigs, a couple chatterbaits. I pack what I plan on using for that body of water in one sorter box. And that's kind of like my go-to, like especially for a tournament, like the first full set of baits and the second round of baits I pack into a single box so that it's just a quick switch over and I don't have to go find which one I wanted to use next. That slot is going to give me a spot for that instead of having to go to my crate to get it. The under seat storage is going to give me a place to put all the stuff that I normally have in a bin under my seat, which then allows me to put a plastics bait binder underneath the seat. So now I've taken 3 boxes that would have been behind me and put them within reach because of that space. And that's
Yep.
one of the reasons why I'm upgrading, is because for tournaments, especially, I run fun fishing. I will literally not touch some. There'll be days where I'd never even turn around. Like I go to a lake. If I'm fun fishing, especially when I'm fishing my home lake, I basically
Yeah.
use 3 baits because I know where to
Yeah.
catch fish and I know what I'm going to do. Or if unless I'm making a video about a specific bait, I don't really change much. A tournament, I have 9-10 rods rigged and I have a whole nother changeover and I'm ready to, change everything again if I need to. So I want to be able to like set everything up. And that's I think the one thing that like the kayak world has over the bass boat world is, yeah, you can rig your bass boat, but I don't know many guys that own a bass boat that can say they took paint and took a picture off the internet of their kayak and started drawing circles like, okay, I'm going to put a camera here and I'm going to put a mount here. And dude, everybody I know that's had a kayak, they've either done this in their head or they've
Yeah.
taken and they've drawn like, okay, so red circles are rod holders and squares are cameras and this is a bait finder. Like, you literally
Yep.
start like drawing this weird like 2-year-old diagram. Looks like a coloring book by the time you're done, and you're like, oh, rod holders, yeah, I'm gonna put these on this side. And like you start drawing this thing out. Like I had my coworkers, I was doing it on my lunch break one day. I was just sitting there drawing this up, and they're like, what are the little weird lines on the side of the kayak? I'm like, well, that's my horizontal rod stager, and those are 4 rods. I just wanted to see how they would fit. And they're like, well, how do you know they're going to fit? And I'm like, well, literally, I turned on the ruler on paint, and I know that they're 7-foot rods, and this is 7 inches. So I'm just like, literally breaking this stuff down. Once you build enough kayaks, you get to the point where you like know what pitfalls you're going to fall into. So you know what you want, but then there's also like, I will tell you right now, I'm going to do a whole video about, I'm buying a kayak. Like I will start selling feet pics. I will start doing really nasty things to get enough money to get this kayak. I will have a kayak by May. That's my goal. I won't necessarily have it for spring unless I get a good deal, but by May I will be in a new kayak. I will have that kayak. Awesome. The thing is, how my brain works, I will not only have the kayak, but before I even go pick up the kayak, I probably will already have a box of Yak Gadget stuff, a wiring harness pre-made to the point where I just have to run a home run from one side to the other. And like all that stuff is going to be sitting in a box ready to rig it.
So where do you have your battery right now on your Old Town? Where's the battery on your Old Town right now? Because I mean, you have a battery box in that Titan.
So it's in the front in that little like tank well area. But what I did is, and are you familiar with like the inside front of an Old Town?
So bit, yeah.
What they did is they put a hole in the top and they made a hole that goes down. That's supposed to be where you run your cables for your transducer. So it created a pillar that comes down through the front of the kayak. So what I did is I took a Tupperware container, punched a couple holes in it, and I zip tied it to that pillar.
Yeah.
And I actually put the battery in that, which keeps it up off the bottom of the kayak and gave it some bounce so I could strap a battery into that. But while I was traveling, it gave it some bounce so it didn't like slam the battery against the bottom of the hole of the kayak while I'm traveling. And then inside of that same box, I just wired a 12-volt marine like fuse block that I run the 2 poles to that. And then I run individual lines to, I have one for a front mount camera. And then I ran one all the way to the back for a back mount camera. And then I have one for my fish finder. I used to have like 3 or 4 other lines that went to like lights and other accessories that I ultimately didn't need. But as it is, condensation inside of a plastic boat started corroding some wires and they started to fail. And I just, see, that's why this one's going to be, that's again, the Titan X, dude, is like, you got that drop-in bucket. So my plan for that is I'm going to have inside of that bucket, I'm going to have a USB plug. And then I'm just going to run a USB cable through the hole that's in the front of that lid and plug it in and then run that to my camera. And then I'm actually going to get those, I don't know what they're called, but it's like that mesh stuff that you can actually slide. Oh, it's almost like shrink wrap, but it's not meant to shrink.
Wire
So,
loom. It's
so
called wire loom, like
yeah.
LOOM. Loom.
So
Yeah.
basically, I'm gonna have everything. I'm gonna get that captain's bridge, and
Yeah.
then it's literally gonna be like a bundle of wire that just comes out and spreads out to the individual items, and then that way I don't have this, because that's the one thing is I'm not, but I am OCD about the wiring, and the reason why I am OCD about the wiring is inevitably what happens is the reason it fails is because it gets caught on your net, you kick it with your foot, you get a fucking treble hook in it. So if you don't organize it, it's not that if you saw this desk right here, you'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? You don't do any cable management at all. But when it comes to your kayak, the failures come from places that wires can move, rub, or pull apart. So the more
Yep.
places you can have everything secure and locked down where it can't move, it can't separate, you can't accidentally hook into it with a treble hook and yank it out of your thing, you're going to have less problems.
So on that same point, that's what I was going to say. If you're going to use that mesh loom, just be careful, dude. It's worse than those mesh rod sleeves. You know what I'm saying? Way worse.
Yeah.
Like there's a. I don't think I have any here. It's on my kayak. I use the ribbed plastic, and it's literally got a slice all the way down the middle of it, so you
I
can
could
put
do
all the
that
wire
too.
inside it, and then use zip tie both ends, and then one in the middle somewhere. And like, dude, it's clean,
That,
and
you know,
every
dude, I
time the
like
hook
that
hits
better.
it, it just skips off of it. You know.
I
I'm just
like
saying,
that better.
just a suggestion. You can do what you want. There's rubber hosing too you can use, but I like the hard plastic because that way I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
You know,
No, I agree.
one less error on my end.
I agree.
But yeah.
And that's the other thing. So I will mention this. I do this a lot on the live stream. I guess if you want to know what's coming on the channel, you should watch the live stream. But I had talked to you earlier, so I'm that's the other thing I'm getting is I may or may not have gotten approved for a Bass Pro credit card today, which is going to be a problem for me later. But I am going to be upgrading electronics, so I'm going to be jumping into the Eagle Eye 9 just because I want forward-facing sonar, but I don't want $3,000 worth of electronics, and that seems like the perfect opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's great. But everybody I watched videos on, now granted, it could be fluff, and you never know who's talking stuff up because some of the stuff, I will admit, some of the videos I saw were guys that sell them. They're kayak dealers and boat dealers. So yeah, they're probably going to talk it up because they want you to buy them. But I actually saw a video today actually from a local guy, Derek Brundle, who is actually from Massachusetts. You probably heard his name on Bobby's podcast. He does. He's actually pro staff for like Yak Rods and a bunch of other companies like that too. He was actually fishing with it, and he was talking about how he likes it. And he's usually not, he's a no bullshit guy. Like, he's not the guy that's going to try to sell you on something that, and I know he's not affiliated with Lowrance. So, like, I know he's not like just, Bible thumping there to try to get sales. And honestly, I don't think Lowrance can't be making much money on that unit. I don't know. I don't know the markup, but.
Yeah, so the markup, from what I understand, the markup isn't too crazy. So it's not that they're gonna make a ton of money on it, but like, can you imagine? Let's do this real quick. There's three main businesses, and they all have these big, crazy sonars, right? This crazy sonars. Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, like everybody's one, this, that, and the other, and they're all trying to get better and better and better and better and better. And that one guy in the crew goes, "Hey man, let's just make one that's affordable for everybody, and we can rake in the underside of the market, And they can literally take the feed out from the market, So I can't imagine they're making a huge. I mean, they might be, but I can't imagine there's a huge markup on it. I think it's more along the lines of being able to put that kind of technology in the common man's hand is like. I appreciate
and dude, honestly, so I would not, I'll tell you right now, if that specific unit didn't exist, I wouldn't even be having this conversation. There's no way I'm wiring a NEMA network box and a $3,000+ between the transducer and the unit in my kayak. I'm not doing it.
No.
But $1,000 unit that's all in one that I could take and put in my boat, because all I got to do is wire it smartly, or I could just take that arm and build a redneck mount for my arm on my front of my kayak on my boat, and then I could take that same unit, mount it to the dash of my boat, and run it off a battery on the deck of my boat. Now all of a sudden I've got live scope in both of my boats for $1,000
Yep.
because
So-
you're not moving a traditional live scope setup around. That's not something that's portable. You know what I mean? Whereas
No,
this thing, and honestly, up here, the other thing that you don't have to think about, but guys use live scope for ice fishing a lot. It's a very popular technology for ice fishing.
I mean, I bet I didn't understand why. I thought that that's where it came from originally. To be honest, like I was like, oh, that's probably something they brought over from ice fishing because just common sense that makes sense to have that kind of technology. If you're not going to move, look around you. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
Either way, I will say, okay, so if you're going to get the Lowrance, there's a benefit, and don't quote me on this because I can't remember exactly if it is the Yak Power system or if it is the Newport batteries. But whatever, there's a Bluetooth link you can get, and you can actually link it up to your Lowrance. So then you can monitor your battery and everything from your Lowrance screen. So
So
But-
I will say the
I
one
can't remember exactly which brand it is. I just heard that from somebody else, so I'm parroting that information. That's not my personal information.
One thing I was looking at, and it's something that I've always made my own setups, and it's not because I'm not the guy that's like, I buy a Ford because I like Ford. I buy whatever the fuck I can afford. It's not like that
Yeah.
type of deal. But the thing about the Yak Power that is cool, little touches. One thing I saw, which was neat, and it sounds really stupid, but I saw a guy took out the rod tube on a native, and apparently
Huh?
that fits right in that hole.
So I was looking at that last night, but it wasn't. I think it's. I haven't seen that in the Yak. I mean, it might be in the Yak Power. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna have to check that out. But I
Because
saw
he
it on
has like
somebody else.
the red button panel. He actually figured out. I don't know if he made a plate to stick it on there or whatever, but he actually took the rod tube out of the top rod on the left hand side of his native Titan X.
Oh, and he put the blank and then the plate. Got you. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say. I
So
know
he
that
literally
Ketch came
took
out
like
with something
he
similar.
made like a plastic plate, screwed
Mhm.
that Yak Power button dial deal to it, ran the
Yeah.
wires down through that into his kayak so he can just reach up and push it, but it's right there. Perfect
Yep.
spot. And then like because I don't think I'm gonna use the horizontal rod storage sounds like a great idea. And in theory, it sounds like a good idea. But if you've ever stacked a rod on top of another rod and then tried to get that rod back out of that other rod,
Yeah.
you know why you probably don't want to use that as a regular. Like what I think I'm going to end up using that for would be if I want to go under an overpass or something, then I can tuck my rods down there to get under it and then pull them back out and put them back behind me.
Yep.
I just don't
So-
see myself using that.
Okay, so we're talking perfect because I mean I ran the Yak Gadget horizontal rod holder for a solid year. Like
Yeah.
it was awesome. And at first it was like one of my only rod storage areas. So I got the 4 one. So I had all 4 rods sitting
too.
next to me. Well, what I ended up happening over time was I realized that, like you said, you accidentally set it or they'll cross over a rod or something like that. Because you're not looking all the time when you're setting your rod down. You're like trying to handle a fish or whatever.
Yep.
And what ended up happening was I ended up using 2 rods in the 4 rod stager after a while. You know, my actual bait and then like a follow up bait, right? And then I had the rest of the rods behind me. Unfortunately, I lost like it's the equivalent to like I don't know $600 something setup because I got a fish, and as I got that fish,
Yep.
the way I was fighting it, that rod, the tip of the rod flipped off the rod stager, and then immediately dipped down. And when I went to try and grab it, it teetered back and just went whoop right behind me into the
Exactly
water.
what the one I lost did.
Yep. And I was like, oh. And ever since then, like, you know, the rod stager, it comes with these little holes, the Yak Gadget one does. So you can apply a bungee, you know,
I
and do a
have
bungee
bungees
to
on
it.
mine. So I use my horizontal storage specifically for like it's weird, and that's actually why I want to get the Yak Gadget crate. So I will always have vertical rods. The rods I'm
Yeah.
actively fishing are vertical. It's just
Yeah.
how I do it now. What I do with the horizontal ones is I'll have like a 6-inch swim bait, a 1/2 ounce jig, Like baits that I may use in a certain situation, a frog,
Yeah.
stuff that I want to have with me in case I come upon that type of structure, but they're not ones I'm actively using, and then I leave them bungeed, and they kind of are just sitting there as like a reserve set of rods. And then
Yeah.
like my crankbait, my wacky rig, my finesse stuff is behind me so that I can just I know which ones I'm switching out.
Yeah.
That's the way I found, because I was literally looking at like, man, I'll just buy another 4-place and I'll just do 8 horizontal. The other thing, and it sounds really dumb, but the other thing that I ran into with the horizontal rod storage is, and it sounds really weird to have, it's like a kind of a niche problem, but when you fish with someone, they almost always run into them.
Right. They pull up on your rod side every time. I'm like, bro, I got a whole kayak. You came to right here, huh? Like,
I got 12 feet of kayak here, and you always run into the rods.
yes. Dude, same. I had the same issue, dude. And at first, I had my rod storage on one side, but then
Yep.
when I realized that's where I pull most of my fish in, and I fight the fish
Yep.
off that side of
You
the
on the
kayak
left, and the rods have to
most
go
of the
right.
time, yeah, I was like, all right, they're going over here.
So I even
yeah.
put mine further back, like with the Old Town, they only have the one, track. So I
Yeah.
actually put Mighty Mounts like further back. So
Yeah.
like my rods actually extend beyond my kayak.
Yeah. See, that's another thing is like I didn't do the reverse. Like you're talking about having the
Yep.
butt of the rod in front of you. Like I always had the butt of my rod because I had the RVR, so I had track on
Yeah.
both sides, right behind me, so I could keep the reels basically right next to me. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
could pick up a rod the way I want to and set it down. But I was suggested that I put it backwards, and now after I lost that rod, I wish I did because I wouldn't have lost the rod had that happened. Because I had
Yep.
I had the stagers too close together, so then there's just a teetering point.
Yeah, dude, there's like a pretty decent gap between mine. And
Yeah.
the other thing that's cool about that holder too is you can put 8 on there. You can if you turn them the other way. Now it's tricky
I do
getting
it.
them back out.
Yep.
But that's why I like it, because if you want to go over an underpass, or
Yep.
you get that buzz bait caught in that fucking tree, or you throw a Ned rig and the wind takes it, and you got to go in there to get it, you can take your rods down so that you're not plinkoing up here and then breaking a rod off while you're trying to save your 17-cent Ned head. You don't break a $200 rod.
Dude, fucking throwing in $20 to chase the 5 you lost in the slot machine. It's the same. I got the same issue. That's why I did the same thing. I would do like reel one side, reel other side, reel one side, reel other side when I stack them, just because same thing. I would be going under bushes and in trees and stuff like that, or I'd get into some thick foliage and like need to keep everything low.
You know what's the funniest thing that ever happened to me with that too, dude? Is it's a good thing I put my rubber, like the actual band on it. Dude, I had a freaking bass one day change the direction of my kayak because I had a Kitech hanging off the tip of the rod.
Oh, yes.
Dude, and I wish I did not get it on video because the camera angle didn't catch it, and it sucks. But dude, I was literally fishing, and I was just sitting there paying attention. All of a sudden, you just see my kayak go, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then I saw
The
like
rod tips
fish.
just like
So literally, the fish came up and grabbed the freaking Kitech that was out of the water and tried to pull down on it. Of course, the rod tip hit the bend at the hit the point where it hit the end of the action.
Yeah.
And then it turned my kayak because he was hitting. I've had it happen like 2 or 3 times where I've had fish like nipping at the baits hanging off the tips. So, because if you don't, I always, a lot of times I'm really bad about, I just reel them up to the end. Like I don't, like a jig. A lot of times I'm stupid and I'll reel a jig up to the head and just leave it on the end of the hook, and instead of hooking it into the actual bait keeper. And yeah, dude, I've had it happen. I've had bluegill do it too. Like I've actually like looked back and saw bluegill like sucking on the end of the paddle tail, like just hanging on.
Dude, I've done that, and I actually I saw them doing it one day when I was fishing a spot with my buddy. I had the rod tip, the lure was just hanging in the water a little bit. It's like I had one of those battle baits, miniguns, little spinner baits.
Yep.
And I was looking down, and all of a sudden I see these bluegill like brushing up against it and like playing with it, and like not necessarily eating it or attacking it. And I was like,
swirl around it,
yeah, I was like, oh, that's when you know you got the right lure, because even the bait fish want a piece of it. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I started throwing that sucker around and started catching fish. I was like, all right, cool.
Problem
This
is
is
what happens here, dude, is pike will smash a bait next to your kayak.
Yeah, see,
It
I don't have none of
scares
that.
it scares the ever living shit out of you. So like you throw a square bill, like say you're like, okay, I'm gonna rig 2 poles at the same time, right? So I'll take a square bill. Oh man, I can't find my pliers. Okay, well it's tied to the knot. I just need to cut the tag in. Throw the square bill in the water because the number one law of treble hooks is if you leave that anywhere near your person or near anything, a treble hook is going to embed itself in anything it's near. So I just throw it in the water because I'm like, at least it's out there. And I've literally been sitting there like looking for my pliers with the square bill just sitting there floating on the surface, and then boosh, and like had them like just smash these things. They'll come in and they torpedo underneath your kayak and then just smack this thing on the surface of the water. And it's like, and every time you're like, holy like it like you don't know how to react because you're like, oh my god, this is like, you feel the water coming off of this fish as it jumped out of your bait. Like I've had
awesome.
like literally bass like nose like dolphin like beach ball like knock baits out of the water when they're trying to like come up and hit it.
That's rad. That's rad. See, I've only just had the bluegill mess with it. I haven't actually had a fish. I've always liked. I've actually put them in there a few times. Like let the line out, and let them just hang in the water,
Yep.
just to see if a fish will eat it next to me. But it never happens. I saw some bluegills trying like, do the funky monkey with it a few times. That's about it.
Yep.
But yeah, then like there's other people making a bunch of like side rod stagers now, like the Yak Tech one. Each rod has an individual like clip to close, so it locks each rod in place.
See, I like
Which
that,
is
but I don't.
okay. So there's pros because your rods are secure, it's not a big deal. But there's cons because then you have to get up and unclip both sides to get your
Right.
rod out. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
the way I do it, like I want my rods. That's another reason why I'm getting a bigger kayak is like with the way the native. The only thing I'm going to have a problem with, and I did kind of measure it up, is the way the native did the track. Is they stopped it at that 3600 slot.
yeah,
By
yeah,
putting that rod stager there, I'm gonna kind of lose use of that side because where I'm gonna want the butts of my rod to be is gonna be right in the middle of that slot.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's kind of
Well,
where I'm gonna want like the handles of my reels to be, and then point them to the back. So I don't
right.
know how far the track goes back because I haven't actually looked at the 12-foot one yet, and that's going to be a little
Yeah.
bit different dimensions there. Um, and that's something where I want to try to figure out because I do want to have the one stager I have, and then that's one of the reasons why I was looking at the Yak Gadget crate thing because then I can have. I think that has the XD has one like it says 6 rod holders on it. I don't remember. It's got a
That,
bunch on it.
that's the one I had. I loved it. I thought it was great. I didn't necessarily like. So the canvas flap that it straps it all down is solid. Like, don't get me wrong, it's solid. I used to throw. It has a little zipper. You can throw dry storage in there. It's cool for like car keys and sunscreen and shit. It's great.
Yeah,
But what I did find, I love the tilt feature of it. I love the angle feature. I love the dividers. I love the durability, and I could have 6 rods on it. Um, but between you, me, and the wall, the whole back of the box is unused, and I feel like you could drill more rod holders into it if you wanted to. You really can. Like you just pilot hold the
yeah,
plastic and then put the screw in. But what I found was the way they staged when you go to undo your straps, it's all 4 corners. It's hard to get it back, like especially in a pinch, like when you're like back behind you, like you pull one of those. It's a bungee cord that goes all the way around. So you pull the one bungee up, and all the other bungees start to release. You have to go around to each corner to make sure that it is back on there tight. You'll end up banging your knuckles on your rods. I've caught in between my fingers. I've caught hooks a bunch of different times, and it's like, okay, like I got to be more careful. So when I'm back there, I have to use both hands, and so that means I'm setting my rod down somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
so as compared to where like my black pack now, dude, I lift and I can reach and I can just, yeah.
Now those I wanted to ask about that because I've never bought a black pack before.
Mhm.
Does the rods like lock into those holders? Is that how they like? Do they like? Because they look like they have like a little click. Like they look like they hold the rod reel in there. Is that how that works? Because some of
So
those.
the go ahead.
No, I was just kind of curious because they look like the way the rod holders look. They look like they have some sort of mechanism that actually keeps the rod in them. Maybe I'm
Okay,
wrong.
so the the rod tubes are not too dissimilar between the two brands, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
When like the way the groove is set, where your reel seat can kind of sit in, and you like spinning rods too, so your spinning rod will actually sit deeper than your bait caster because your bait caster, is
Yep.
tight to your rod. So I try and do it no matter what. I did it on the Yak Gadget one too. If I have a spinning rod, it's going between two bait casters. You know what I'm saying? Just to
Yep.
split the difference a little bit. But what I do like about the tubes from the Yak Attack is they have a bungee and a hook. The bungee wraps around the tube, so you can hook your rod in when you're not using it. It doesn't damage the rod. It doesn't even ding it up. It's like super soft plastic. But if your kayak tips or you're hitting something, it won't pull the rod right out of the rod tube. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they stay in pretty good, which I like. And with the 16 by 16, which is similar to the size of the XD crate, I can fit 4 rods on either side comfortably. So
And that's
therein
that's
lies
the other
a
option.
little bit of a difference.
And that's where my money wasting brain is going, is like I like that because they also have that I remember what it's called, but then they have that other box that clips on top that then gives you even more storage that you can.
I was going to get to that. I love the short stack on top. Now, if you put a short stack on top of your black pack, you completely lose the back of your kayak or wherever the hinge is.
Yeah.
If you just have the lid, you can put rods all the way across the back too, and it's just the lid. The lid doesn't hit anything.
Right.
But when you put the short stack on, that short stack is like 4 inches thicker or 3 inches deeper. So when you go to open it up, it's going to hit all those rods. You know what I'm saying? It won't open up all the way. So you lose the back of your black pack or the back of your storage box
Right.
to the short stack. Now the short stack I think is awesome. I have a junk drawer under my PWR. It's not my catch-all. That's my quick grabs. Even though it's a junk drawer, it's supposed to be a catch-all. I use my short stack, and I have in there a couple spare reels, a bunch of line, and a spooler because I blow up reels because I am no professional fisherman and I never will pretend to be.
Yeah.
But I have line, I have extra big stuff back there. I have an extra tournament card. I have all my markers, my color markers, the spike it markers. I have a Sharpie marker because I like drawing on my baits, and sometimes I'll put a little wiener on the side of the fish and then throw it out there see if they eat it. I think it's funny. Whatever. And
Hey, dude, it
like,
worked.
dude, if it works, it works. Whatever. I mean, Aaron Martins used to put smileys on his little swim baits, but whatever. So I have all that stuff back there. It's kind of like my catch-all. And then and also if I get, like I said, spool up blow up a reel, I have to cut all that line out. I just put it in my short stack.
Yeah.
That way, it's not all over my kayak. It's not everywhere. But if it's like baits, like old soft plastics, they go right on the floor under my left foot every single time. And that way I know at the end of the day what I was catching on more than the other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or it's just a place to put it all I'm not throwing it back in the water. So the short stack is beneficial for storage if you're like a kitchen sink guy. And there's other people that use theirs in different ways. But when it comes to the black pack itself, the only dividers like I have in my short stack, and then I'm just going to put them in my black pack here pretty quick, you can get are bungee cords. It's like a little clip and a clip, and they match the whole pattern inside the black pack, and it's just a bungee cord. So when you set your boxes in, like you were talking about earlier, and I think we were talking about in the green room, you pull your box out and all the boxes fall over. You're like, crap, like trying to put it back in the same spot. The only dividers that you get with Yak Attack is bungee cords, but the Yak Gadget one actually has hard plastic dividers, and the way they're set in the box, because the box is actually kicked at an angle, is they lean towards you. They kick towards you, so you can slide them in and out. It does limit the size and amount that you can put in there, but I mean, with the side rod stager and the fact that you're going to have a couple 3600 boxes and you have an underseat storage coming in your new kayak, and that's like what your target goal is, you're not going to be filling that box all the time,
Right. That's where I've been back and forth on that one because I do. So I run a lot of. Actually, I've been running these. I just got them out the other day. So I run. How did I put it? I bought the Zerust that's like satchel for plastics because I buy a lot of like Kitex and clamshell baits, and once you take a clamshell bait out of the clamshell, it like breaks. and you can't put it in a bag. You can't put it in a Ziploc bag. You can't put it in a box. And a lot of those, like especially Kitex are like the sea. Like there's just so much salt in them that they're gonna rust anything else out that you put in with them. So like,
yep.
having
I use
that,
this.
and that's what I'm saying is like something like that would fit in that short stack. You know what I mean? And that would give me the ability to have, because really I carry more plastics than I do hard baits. Because I can
You and me both, sister. Hell yeah.
plastics are
Same
way more
thing.
versatile. Like I can have a swim bait, I can have a worm, I can have Texas rigs. I could fish those 100 different ways. I can only fish a square bill the way I fish a square bill. I can only fish a chatterbait the way I fish a chatterbait. And even honestly, next year, I can tell you right now, I'm done with boxes for jigs and chatterbaits and swim jigs. I'm going to bait binders because I've seen a lot of guys do that. And I actually like the idea of just putting like all my quarter ounces in a bait binder sleeve, and then all my half ounces in a bait binder sleeve, like something like that, instead of trying to keep them in a box where they're basically, when you put them in a sorter box, they just get smashed together, and then the skirts get all screwed up, and then they're just tangled. That's true.
This is what this right here. Now this is worth its weight in gold. I'm not gonna lie. These things. So this mount right here. Yeah, it mounts to the track pack, or it mounts to the track, and these track packs, dude, like, mind you, I have them filled with soft plastics right now just because, you know, it is what it is. But, I mean, these are my throw and goes real quick. These go in the front of my kayak right in front of me, so I can just reach down and grab and throw the next one. You know what I'm saying? But if you're looking for storage for buzz baits, spinner baits, used lures, like I have one box that's already on my kayak. My kayak's at Kayak City right now. I just got the motor put it, or I put it in. I just installed a bunch of stuff. I haven't brought it home yet. But I have one that's specifically made for wet lures. So when I get done using a lure, it's not going back in any of my boxes. Yes, I have Z-Rust Z-Rust Flambeau boxes. I have Edge Plano boxes. I have all that stuff. I still don't want rust, so I throw them in one of those track packs. Those track packs are not waterproof, so air gets in there. They dry. It's fine. And that's just where those sit. And then the other two boxes are spinner baits, buzz baits, frogs. You know, like, because those are the hardest things to stack and find and store in your kayak. Dude, those track packs are worth their weight in freaking gold, dude. I swear.
See, now that's got me thinking, because you know what I did? You know what I have in my kayak? You know those stupid mesh pockets in the Old Town that they have on either side of it?
Yeah.
Fucking stacked with jigs and frogs and spinner baits. Like I reached in there one day and came out with 3 treble hooks and fingers, like because I stuffed shit in there, and it's the same reason I don't want to put a wet jig back in a box and then rust out all my other jigs. So that's a sneaky idea of doing. See, that's the other. So it sounds really weird, but that's the other reason why I want the Titan. Is the one problem I have with my Old Town, and it's a really stupid, limited problem to have, but a measuring board doesn't fit on the deck of an Old Town. It fits at an angle on the gunnel, whereas the Titan literally built freaking slots to put a freaking measuring board right there when I'm measuring my fish, which means I now can use the gunnel, because I can't use the gunnel of my kayak because I have to have a spot to put my measuring board. So I can't put accessories there because they're going to hit the freaking measuring board, and then I can't keep that level during a tournament. So being able to put that measuring board down in my kayak flat allows me to put something like that box along the side and not have to worry about hitting it when I'm trying to navigate.
Dude, and you can put those anywhere. Like you can use a Mighty Mount, or you can use any piece of track. They're dope. But make sure that on your native that you put that board the correct direction, because one's actually lower than the other, so it keeps it sloped. Yep. I love that. I think that's cool. They did the same thing with my RVR. They have a slot for the catch board. It doesn't fit the leaderboard, but it does fit catch boards real good.
See, and I looked at the leaderboard. I've been back and forth on doing that. I do like the catch board, so I'm probably just going to stick with it. But the leaderboard's huge. That thing could be used for self-defense at the boat ramp, like if you need it. Crackhead started getting real randy. I bet you could probably swing that thing and at least get the safety before he came to. Like those things. And the orange one, dude. So one of the guys that fishes our tournament trail, That thing is a fucking beacon.
Yeah.
You can see that from 200 yards. I swear to God, if that has got any part of that is displayed on a kayak, that acts. They probably should actually pass a law that if you have one of those, you don't need a marker light, because you probably could like that.
Glow in
That
the
is
dark.
that thing is my buddy Brad bought one, and like, dude, I literally fished tournaments with him, and I'm like, I wonder where Brad is. I'm like, oh, there he is, because I can tell. I can't see his kayak, I can't see his body, but I can see that orange rectangle from a mile away across the lake in a creek channel, because it's like that thing is there. Like, it is insane.
Hey, did you I know we talked about this. I don't know if you ever pulled the trigger on it. Did you ever grab kayak cushions yet? My guy.
I end up with two of them. I got the round Bertha one for my butt, and then I got the square for my back, dude.
Dude, those Bertha cushions are lazy boys. They're so good, huh?
Dude, I use them hunting in the
Dude,
woods.
they're the
I use them
best,
on
bro.
I used them in my fucking tree stand this way. I actually took it off my kayak and started strapping them to my tree stand seat, because it was way more comfortable than any of the tree stand seats.
Oh yeah, dude.
Dude,
Dude,
it
I
was
take
worth
I take
every.
mine to my son. Yeah, I take mine to my son's baseball games, dude. Like, just throw it right on the bleachers, dude. I'm like,
Oh,
this
dude,
is
yeah.
amazing.
So, my son's playing basketball, and yeah, it's going with me to basketball games.
Hell yeah. My kid was like, Dad, are you bringing your tushy cushion? I was like,
Dude,
yeah.
it is insane how it stays soft. And I know that sounds weird, but like a Thermoseat, I've bought
That's what
5 or
she said.
6 other kayak cushions.
Uh-huh.
They get hard over time. The longer you sit on them, they get hard. That one, yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, if you're sitting on it for 6 hours, yeah, your butt's starting to get a little bit sore, but you can just like shift your position a little bit, and then you're like,
Yep.
It is the best damn. Like, it's going there. Those are going directly. Even when I get my new kayak, they're going directly on the new seat. Like, and I know that the native seat's super comfortable, whatever. That's the other thing I like about that Titan seat, is it has a higher back on it.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's more like a recliner almost. Like, it's got some back support to it.
Mm-hmm. It's super comfortable, dude. They got that seat they use in the Titan, the New Canoe, and the new XTR. Like, that's like it's a really comfortable seat. But dude, those cushions just change the game. At least for me, I use the lumbar. I use the Cush bar. I use that thing because I don't know what kind of PFD you have, but I have the Chinook, the NRS Chinook. So it's got a big back pad right here because I don't swim very well, so I need my little turtle shell to keep me floating. So when I'm sitting, I have this big cushion up here and nothing lower, so I'm kind of kicked forward. So when I throw that Cush bar in, it like levels it out, and my back's no longer like arched backwards. It actually my spine curves the way it's
He
supposed
made
to. Oh
a
my
new
god!
one where that's like combined now, right? I think I saw
No.
one where it's like, yeah, I think he made one that's like a one piece back deal.
Bro, he's gonna take all my money. I swear.
I
These are so
could be
comfortable, dude.
wrong, dude, but I'm pretty sure I saw where hold on, I'm looking that up now.
Yeah. Check it out, because I mean,
I can't remember
sitting all day. I've been doing construction and skateboarding for years, so my back is basically like I'm 42 and my back is at like 60, you know? And so sitting in the kayak, and before I got the PWR, which is an extremely comfortable seat, I had the RVR, and so I was so low and so hunched up that there was no real way that I could ever really get super comfortable. So once I got like those kayak cushions, I was telling you, dude, like I can get up and I can my that nerve that goes down your butt cheek to your knee isn't giving me no problems. Like I can walk after I fish all day. I can get up and I can walk just fine. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but I want to say it was like it basically took like the Cush bar thing and like attached it to the back of a like regular. It's like made like an actual like one piece seat deal.
Dude, that's so dope. I'm gonna talk to him about that.
Yeah, dude, it's those things are. I'm not going to lie to everybody watching right now. If you go look at the price, you're gonna go, "Whoa!" For a cushion, worth every fucking penny. I bought 2.
Absolutely.
It's worth so much money that I bought one, and it was on my butt, and I bought a second one for my back because I liked it that much. Like,
Yep.
I have almost $200 in cushion on my seat, but I can tell you, I fished for 8 straight hours in my kayak, and I never stand.
Yep.
I don't have I'm not brave enough to stand. Now, when I have a 170-pound small
Bro,
marine boat, it might be a little different.
Yeah,
but
you're gonna dance on that thing, dude. You'll be fine. It'll be awesome.
thing, I think that one's going to be the kayak that gets me standing more. But still, like, I'm sitting for 8 hours.
I'm gonna tell you though, because you're going from Old Town to Native, and Old Town is notoriously known for their primary. It's called, you know, the difference between primary and secondary stability, right?
Yeah.
So Old Town's super primary stability. It's just solid. It's stable. You're good. So what I've found, at least with the small amount of time that I've been able to get into jump into some of the other kayaks, because that's a perk of, like, you know, being over at Kayak City with those guys. Like, I can take something out and go try it out. It's awesome. I find that Native, Bonafide, like big adventure stuff, they're real big on secondary stability. So when I stand up, it's a little shaky, but if you lean it, it like has a stopping point where it just dunk, and it's solid as a rock both ways, you know? So you will find that when you go to stand up, it might be a little more wobbly, like especially getting in and out of the kayak. But dude, there's that Titan 12X is, it's a tank, dude. You're not going to go anywhere in that thing.
Well,
dude.
and that's
You'll be fine.
and the funny part is, dude, is I'm not. It's a really dumb. I'm not worried. I grew up swimming. I have no problem with that part, and I have a PFD on. I don't fish. First of all, I don't fish in a kayak without a PFD on. I just don't. It's dumb.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. It should be a law that you just have to, like in Vermont, you just have to have it in your kayak. You just have to have it.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to wear it.
Yeah.
So here's what happens, and this is what pisses me off, is they lash it to the front with the bungee. So if you fall out, it's useless to you because it's sinking with your kayak.
Yeah. Yep.
Or it's floating away from you with your kayak. It's not. You might as well not bring it. There's no point in even having it.
Yep.
Because it's not doing you any good. So I just wear. I have an auto inflate just because of the comfort of it. But it's not that I'm worried about. It's the $2,000 worth of rods that are going to end up in the bottom of the lake. That's why I'm thinking about buying a new crate that has the ability to lock my rods in. I have the horizontal rod storage with that stager deal with the whole the short stack. That's going to keep my baits from being able to come out. So if I do somehow flip my kayak, I'm not losing anything at that point. The only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to have to, like, you know, get water out of the charging port of my phone.
Yeah. And,
you know, and I know how to get in and out of a kayak if I have to. The only thing that's going to suck about falling in is I'm going to have to replace that $30 CO2 cartridge in my auto inflate.
Well, dude, that, and you got to flip that bitch back over. that's going to be a task, dude.
Yeah, that is true.
Honestly, like, do you carry a knife? Do you do a knife thing? Like, I'm all about, like, because I have a bunch of straps all over my kayak, that I have a knife like hooked on my PFD just in case I get strapped up, you know, I get tied up.
I have,
not that it's happened, but
yeah, I typically do. I have the knife for a different reason. Is I use the anchor. I don't use it as much as I always thought I would.
Yeah.
But I use a mushroom style anchor, and I do that because I had a grapple style anchor that got hung up on a log one day, and it started, like, in the current, started like sucking my kayak down because it was, I was pulling away. It wasn't moving. I couldn't get it out. So I have a knife that I can just, because I don't, my anchor line is just like 1,000-pound paracord.
Yeah.
It's not chain. It's not heavy duty marine grade nylon. It's something that I could literally take a knife and go, and it's gone. Yeah, I lost my anchor, but I'm not going to die because my kayak's now sucking water because I'm hung. So I carry a knife that I can just quick, you know, something that I can just snip that with and go. That's another thing that I was looking at doing is I always did like the anchor trolley thing. But with the Titan X, I don't think I'll need to because I can spin my seat. The whole point of the anchor trolley was I could change the position so I can cast to the fish. But with the Titan X, I could just spin the seat, cast, and then get back comfortable again. So it's not like as important to change the direction that I'm facing to be able to cast to the spot I want to hit. So I
Plus-
think I'm going to end
plus
up
you have
doing
the-
like the whole drop.
Yeah, dude, have you looked at the Anchor Wizards? I think they're dope. I got them on the RVR. I think that those are pretty fun.
That's kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Is just using I'm going to use the front mount of the Native and rig something where I can just basically have kind of like the freaking ocean boats have, where I just have a freaking mushroom anchor
Anchor
just
hanging.
hanging off the front of the kayak, and then I just go and just let it drop.
So I know that JT over at Yak Gadget has one too. But if you get Anchor Wizards, you can get them with the bazooka tube, where
Yeah.
the bazooka tube has a track mount, so you can lock it in, right? And
Yeah.
then the Anchor Wizard goes through the tube, and then the anchor's at the end, right? And so when you're cranking up your anchor, the tube is hanging down. And as soon as it hits the tube actually lifts and slides back into place. So your anchor's sitting on top of your boat the whole time. It doesn't do anything. But as soon as you release the tension on the Anchor Wizard, it goes
slides
whoop,
down,
whoop,
drops.
and drops. Yeah. But,
Okay.
But here, that's from Anchor Wizard. It's made out of metal. It makes a lot of noise. I know that Yak Gadget has just a tube mount that you can use.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
plastic,
something I
so-
like the idea of, because in a tournament, and from like
Yeah.
just measuring fish, being able to just pop a lever and just let the freaking anchor drop to lock it down.
Yeah, it's like a bait caster. It's
Yeah.
almost like instead of hitting the button, you just release the handle, release the tension on the handle on the Anchor Wizard, and then the weight of the anchor just drops it.
Because
And
there's
then,
a lot of times when you get the fish in the net and you want to measure that fish, I like to just drop the anchor so I don't have to worry about, okay, because I don't know if you've done this. I'm sure you have, because anybody thinking a kayak that's measured fish with a measuring board has been like, oh, I'm going to measure this fish, and I'm doing it in a tournament. So I'm trying to get a good photo. And then I look up and I'm like, holy fuck, where am I? Because I've drifted 2 miles now because I'm not paying attention or pedaling or adjusting myself. And like
Yeah.
you take
Yep.
or you go to take the photo and then you stop, go to put the fish back, and you're like, oh, I'm in shore, or I'm in like
yeah. Yeah.
I'm now in a grass mat and I have to paddle 60 yards to get out of this grass mat that I got tucked up in because I wasn't paying attention. So like I like to be able to just drop anchor, stay in place, measure my fish, not worry about drifting too far away. Plus, honestly, I want to try to get back to wherever I caught that fish. Maybe there's another one with it. So being able to just like push a button and just have it drop, lock it, and just be done and just stay there is enticing to me, because that's what I basically use an anchor for now, except for I'm having to dig it out from under my seat and throw it over the side of my kayak.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you get the Anchor Wizard ones, they come with these anchors. They're not necessarily grappling hooks. They're not necessarily mushrooms. They're like happy medium.
Yep.
So I haven't really got snagged on anything yet, whether I was in moving water or flat water, but it'll happen. But yeah, I mean that's the whole purpose of what I was saying about the knife, is like not only for the anchors, but like you're gonna have a larger kayak now. So like if you throw an extra strap, just a loose strap that you can like roll up and like tuck under the handle or something like that, or the side. So
Yeah.
that way if it flips over, you can pull the strap over the bottom of the boat upside down and kind of put your foot on one side and pull it, flip it over. Yeah, that way. But the strap's going to be there. So if you get looped up in that thing, I was just asking if you had a knife to like be able to cut.
Oh,
that
dude,
free,
I
you
have.
know?
So I carry a knife. I carry usually spring-loaded barb cutters, which you probably appreciate from your other jobs. But like, I get the like diagonal cutters that have like the spring assist. Like, I can cut like a 6XD hook with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like getting these little baby diagonal cutters that I can only cut drop shot hooks with. I want something where like if I get a treble hook in my hand, I'm cutting. I could cut a chunk out of my kayak with these things. Like, that's what I want. And that's just because I put hooks through my hands so many times that I don't. It's a redneck statement, but I don't want to stop fishing. I'm gonna cut that barb. I'm gonna cut that barb off. I get 3 days a week to fish, and that's only recently. Before it was only 2 days a week, and I'm not gonna go home to get barb cutters to end my day. I'm gonna take the split ring off that treble hook, and then I'm gonna grab barb cutters and I'm gonna cut that barb off, and then I'm gonna grab my pliers. I'm gonna pull real hard, yell real loud, say a couple choice words, and then bleed into my kayak while I go back to that grass mat to catch that bass that just hooked me.
Yep.
that's how I operate. So that's one thing I am going to do though. The Titan, because it has that bucket in the front, I am going to
Mhm.
get an actual like first aid kit, because that's one thing I should have in my kayak that I don't.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not gonna buy, like, the problem is buying one isn't really useful for kayaking. That's actually almost a marketing idea that somebody should do.
It's there.
There
NRS
really
has one,
isn't.
and then
Yeah.
Yak Attack makes one. It's dope. It's a track pack. It's a full track pack, like one of those boxes I just showed you. It's
Oh,
just one of those
really?
boxes. It just has it's all emergency kit inside of it. Yeah, they make it. It's pretty
Because
legit.
there's a lot of those, like, some of them have like useful stuff, but like a lot of the ones you buy are like more for like, I got bit by a rattlesnake. Well, that doesn't do me any good when I'm fishing. Like, I don't need like half of the stuff that's in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want antibiotic ointment, because let's be honest, if I get a hook in me, I want to at least treat it with something, because I'm not fishing. I mean, you know, like, I'm fishing dirty water, like, especially.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got sick from that.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about that, dude? My whole
No.
hand like blistered up. Oh, so I caught this fish, whatever, and I'm grabbing the fish, and right as I'm going to right as I'm going to grab the fish up out of the water, I'm with my son. My son was like 6 at the time. No, he wasn't. He was 7 because he's 9 now, so he's 7.
Okay.
And I go to grab the fish, and at the last second, I don't know if the fish saw my hand or whatever, but he jerked. And so when I grabbed him, because I didn't want him to snap the line or anything, because I mean I had almost no tension on the rod at this point, because I'm reaching down to grab him. We're standing. I'm not in a kayak. We're just standing on the shore.
Yep.
And I just grabbed him real fast, and all of a sudden this crazy amount of pain, dude. Like, it almost made me feel sick to my stomach. And I look down, and the hook is through the fish's mouth, and then through his mouth, and then into my thumb, and I could see the blood coming out from under my thumbnail, because
Yeah.
it skipped to the side of the bone. It missed the bone, but it went straight through my thumb and was digging out under my thumbnail. And I was like, oh, and I didn't have anything on me, dude. Like, all I had was my Leatherman pliers, and that was it. Because I was just
Yep.
fun fishing with like bobbers and stuff with my kid. And I'm screaming. My son's like, oh my gosh, he's freaking out. And I just take the
Yep.
pliers and I pull, dude. I didn't know what else to do. So, and an adrenaline panic, and
Right.
I'm not getting the fish off. I would have to pull the hook all the way through the fish, cut the line, and then let the fish
Yeah.
out. And then I was like, I'm not getting this fish off, and unless I can get this hook out, 'cause I'm just all panic brain. So I'm like, bow, and I just like pull and twist, like kind of with the loop of the hook, and just rip it out of my thumb. Extremely painful. I mean,
That
because I couldn't push it through because it was hitting my thumbnail, or else I
Yep.
would have just pushed it through.
Yeah.
So I pulled the sucker out, and I was bleeding like a stuck pig everywhere. And I threw the damn fish back in the pond, and I'm whatever. And it's just like fucking and just blood everywhere. My son's like freaking out, and like he was crying because he tried to get the fish at first and got like spined by the back spines, because he's little, so he's trying to grab it, and so he's crying. I'm bleeding, cussing everywhere. Like, we're all just all sorts of bad. Well,
Yeah.
a couple months go by, and like you said, like, I don't fish clean water, dude. This was a pond with my kid, and so I start getting what I thought was like little pimples. Like, I still have scars on my hand from it, like all over my hand. It looked like little pimples or like ingrown hairs. So I was like, what the heck? I'm trying to pop them, whatever. Not it, whatever. I'm trying to get them done. So I'm like stabbing them with toothpicks or whatever, trying to get them to leak out.
Yep.
And eventually it grows all over my hand. I'll send you like a video or a pic. I know I got one somewhere. And my entire hand down to my wrist is now like blistering and oozing, and it was foul, dude. And I did not feel right. So I went to the doctor, and I went in there, and they're like, oh, it's eczema. And they gave me eczema cream. So I put this eczema on it, and it just blew up. And it was just like going up my arm. And I was like, all right, something's wrong here.
Right.
And went back to the doctor, and I was like, eczema cream does not work. And so they sent me to the specialist. I walk in the specialist office, I sit there, and he comes in, and he goes, takes one look at my hand. He's like, oh, do you have a fish tank? And I'm like, no. He's like, you like fishing? I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay, I got something for this. And they cut chunks of my hand out just to double check. He's like, I'm just going to double check, but I'm going to take these cultures, is what they call. They cut a couple chunks out of my hand. And then he's all, but I'm going to go ahead and give you this cream, and you let me know. And then I'm going to give you this antibiotic, and you have to take it. And it's a 6-month regimen. So I had to take like this extremely heavy antibiotic for like 6 months. And dude, it was gone in like 4 weeks. And but I had gone back because they do the culture test. He's like, yeah, I thought it was what it was. This is called fish handler's disease, and you can get it if you have open wounds when you're handling fish. And I was like, well, I know exactly where I got that. He's all,
Yeah.
this is a pretty bad case. How long have you had this? I'm like, I don't know, almost a year, because it had started real small, so I didn't think anything of it, dude. Like, whatever. And I just kept rolling, dude. And yeah, so. Yeah, I had a really nasty hand for a while. Like my wife was like, "Don't touch me."
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
but
so I didn't have it that bad. I've had now what happens up here a lot is like pike. So pike have an enzyme in their mouth that has anticoagulant in it.
oh, so you just leak when
So you
they
bleed
hit you.
like a mother
yeah.
if they hit you.
Yep.
So I don't handle like I've actually had like Vermont guys call me a wimp, but even when I go ice fishing, I bring lip grippers.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking with pike or pickerel. I lip grip them all. Like I
Yeah.
don't unhook them. I don't try to unhook them. Doesn't matter what kind of bait it is. I literally am lip gripping them because I've had like so bad of blood. But I had 2 instances where one of them was that mesh pocket I was telling you about. So I had a fucking treble hook come through the mesh pocket, and I wasn't paying attention. And I set my foot down on the side of my kayak, and I actually so you got to think like my foot's like this, and the treble hook was going into the tip of my. So I was pinned to the side of my kayak with the
No.
treble hook like in my middle toe on my foot. So it's like stuck to the pocket with the treble hook in my toe. And it was one of those what the hell was it? It was one of the like it's not the stock hooks, but it was the smaller like 1.5 KVD size bait, so the small fine point treble hook. So it was like
Yeah.
it was like if this was my toe, it was like in it, like in here, like
Oh.
up to the bend. So like my foot's like pinned to the kayak, and I'm at that point I've lost a lot of weight. I was 80 pounds heavier. There was no getting to my foot. I couldn't
Yeah.
bend down and keep my foot in that position. I'm not flexible enough or coordinated enough to get my hands down there. So I literally was sitting there bleeding into my kayak because my foot is sitting and my Old Town always has a little bit of water in it because the seal gasket around my drive leaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like there's 2 inches of water in my kayak that's just progressively turning red. It looks like a fucking scene out of Jaws. There's just blood like
Yes.
filling this thing. It's not that much blood, but it's just spreading out in this water.
It's
which is
enough.
making
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
brain go, how bad am I hooked? So I eventually I literally just looked at myself and I said, okay, I got to figure this out. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I just took my foot and I just kicked forward, hoping that it was just going to like let go. And luckily it just it hurt like hell and ripped a chunk
Oh
out
yeah.
of my toe, but I got it out of there. And then literally like bled out. And then during that video series I was telling you about that I'm releasing in May. So I was trying to, it was kind of the same deal you had where I was trying to, it's one of those like foresaw it too. Pulled the fish out of the water and I go, oh, this is a really shitty hook job. And it was one of those deals where there was a hook in the mouth and then a hook in the gill plate. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's not a good way to lip this fish without one of those treble hooks ending up in me. And I literally said when I pulled it, I'm like, oh man, this isn't gonna work out for me. And I still stupidly lipped the fish instead of grabbing lip grippers. And when I got the first hook out, he jumped and it drove into my thumb. And it drove right in there. And he's on the fucking hook. And I'm like the fish dropped. So like he's on there and the fish dropped, and I'm like, and you see me like go down, like grab the fish to get the fish up and like yank the hook out of my finger. And it's like, again, it was like I like literally held it up to the camera. It's actually literally the opening scene of the following video of me doing like this with blood just running down my thumb.
Oh.
Thing is, I have an extremely high pain tolerance, so like the worst one I ever did, I actually had to have a hook surgically removed. Was I got one in a fat roll, which is partially why I got on a diet because I was like so like sad about myself, but the fact that I could hook myself, I sat down. That's all I did. I was sitting in my house. I wasn't even fishing. I literally was carrying a rod, and I went in my bedroom, sat down on my bed, but had the rod next to me, and the hook was just in the right position where my fat roll closed around the treble hook, and the treble hook was in me. Like it
Yep.
was all the way to the shank, like to the where all 3 points come to a point. It was
Yep.
in there. And I called my wife and I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I need split ring pliers. And she's like, why? And I leaned forward and it was through my shirt, into my skin, just in my fat roll. And I'm like, I'm going to need your help with this. I need you to take the split ring off. So she's like taking the split ring off the square bill. And then like, I'm like, you need to push it through and cut it. And she's trying to push it, but there's not enough because it's a fat roll. So there's not enough skin to get the barb out. So I literally go to the hospital with this fucking treble hook coming out of the side of my shirt, stuck to my shirt, stuck to my thing. Like, I have never, like, I think that's the problem with me is I have never gone 10 years without my next tetanus shot because I've injured myself before that came up.
Yeah. Well,
I think
lost you. Hang on one second. There we go. Sorry. Yep. I had to go close the door and then
the wife would join right as I'm telling that story too because he's always
he needs an education on proper handling of hooks. He's talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah, dude, it's awful. Yeah, that's the wife who has to bring me to the hospital because I can't. Dude, the first time I ever got a treble hook in me and I didn't have the barb cutters, which is why I cap them in my kayak now, was the same deal.
Mm-hmm.
I had the fish doing this, and I'm holding the fish, and like literally had to undo a split ring because the fish was on the bottom of the thing, and I couldn't like let him dangle long enough to, I don't have another hand to get the pliers to get him unhooked. So I'm literally undoing a split ring while the fish is doing that. And it was the same deal you did. It went up through and luckily mine came out next to the fingernail.
So
my dad, I ended up going home and having dad cut the barb to get it out. But I drove home. It was in my right hand. I drove home like this. And there was just a treble hook, like just sitting here while I'm driving home. I took a picture for Instagram. Like I'm like, yeah, this is fish.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh man. So let's see. You have a whole series coming out, and now you're doing 2 shows a week. You do one called "Shut Up, Vinya."
So, dude, I
love it.
Next year. It's weird. I've completely modified my channel. Actually, that's a good question. A good thing to talk about on here is I realized that me making and I'm not gonna stop doing it, but me making like tip trick videos are cool, but they're not as popular or well received as some of my other stuff. And I realized the reason is, and this is something that actually my boy Binya or my boy Bear taught me, was like, instead of me trying to make a video about fishing, I'm making a video about me. If that makes sense. So it's more about like I'm the story instead of trying to make the story about the bass. Because what that does is it allows me to take a day of suck and still make a video from it. You know what I mean? So one of the series I'm releasing next year, and you guys will see it, is there's way more than one, but there's one lake specifically not very far from my house that people rave about how good it is. And I fucking suck at it. Now, granted, I can't say I completely suck at it because if you guys watch my last tournament video, it's that lake. So we won a tournament on it, so I've gotten better at it, but that's because 6 episodes you guys haven't seen of fishing on that lake taught me a lot about that lake. But I'm starting some video series where one of the things I'm going to be doing is going to lakes that I used to avoid because I sucked at them or I didn't feel like they had good fish or whatever, and doing like a true to life vlog style, break it down, show you the failures, the successes, everything. Like, and the other thing I'm going to be doing with content is I'm going to be showing you guys more of like the off the water stuff. Like I'm going to be doing campouts with Bobby. I'm going to be driving down to Massachusetts, sleeping in the back of my truck. It's going to be kind of like Becca Y videos, but my style.
It's storytelling, dude. It's storytelling. Like that's so, in my opinion, more interactive than just like I'm fishing and here's what I'm doing. You know, like
I get bored.
I'm the guy. I'm fishing. I'm fishing and here's what I'm doing. But like I love a good story. Like that's what I dial in for. Like I want to know not only just like the what you're doing, how you did it, all that kind of stuff, but I want to know like the biography of the day. Like I
Yep.
want to know when
That's
you woke up, like all that kind of stuff, like the coffee, the fire up of the coffee, the fire up of the food, like all that kind of stuff. Like I think that's super funny. All the jokes in the meantime, that's just the constant shit talking. Like that's the stuff that I'm really interested in, and I love watching videos on. You know what I'm saying? It's the
so
story that I'm
that Cayuga
interested in.
trip with Bobby. That's kind of what
Oh,
inspired.
yeah, I would hope so. That inspired me. So I had like I was talking on a podcast with a buddy, and it was very like emotional and like very heavy and like it was beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong, like I am not downplaying it all. It was beautiful, but like I think I had hit Bobby up like, hey man, have you ever had a guest and then after you got off, like just had a like an emotional like just whirlwind, like just break down and cry or whatever for a little bit. 'Cause I mean, I was so grateful, like.
Right.
I don't know. It was a lot. And so the next day I'm like, all right, Jigs and Bigs came out and I'm listening to this Jigs and Bigs episode. And I went from like this emotional place to like such a high peak, like listening to and it wasn't like the show was awesome. But the Easter egg at the end, like after the music played, dude, was I was trying to do a job. I was doing a finished carpentry job at the time, so it's very attention to detail. I had to like set my tools down on multiple occasions because my eyes were watering because I was laughing like so hard. Like,
I I was on that podcast and I listened to the entire Easter egg after and laughed the whole time. Like, dude, that's how fishing with Bobby is though.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
that's the thing is like my wife. I'll say to my wife like, I'm gonna go fish with Bobby, and she's like, oh man, because dude, me and him can't do regular. Like shit always happens, dude. Like it's always like he caught his PB the last time we fished.
yeah, yeah. I saw that the PB Smalley.
Fucking
Yeah,
BF 2-pound test, dude. Like
I can't
I
even
had just
hear.
I
I'm
had
like,
just
oh.
broke off before that. Like I was retying. That's why I was available to net right off. Like I was just retying, and I heard him go, "Holy shit, holy shit!" And then I saw that. I wish I'd gotten my camera wasn't running, which sucks because the fish jumped twice.
Yeah,
Like
that's yeah,
shamu, not splash splash back down. Like woo, like and like when you see somebody catch a fish and your brain just like slow motion, like what you see is not what happened in real life. Like you saw like every pixel of that fish like coming out of the water and landing.
yeah.
Like that's what I saw. That's the moment when you see my camera come on and you see me dive for the net because I'm looking at the fish and then I look at what rod he's got and that thing is like huge because he's using a BFS rod with a 4.5-pound a river smallmouth, no less.
Just got a Rainbow Coalition baitcaster just fully
Dude,
jigged down.
he's using this rod that, like, granted, testament to the rod because he got it in, but that thing was jumping. And again, it's a river smallmouth. And if you know the difference, a lake smallmouth and a river smallmouth are not the same species. River smallmouth are athletic as fuck and they're strong as hell. And they dig and they do not want to give up. So and the thing is it was one of those like you have to unscrew it and extend it. The net wasn't extended, it wasn't ready. So I'm like getting the net ready. That's why you see like this weird angle where like I'm just like because I'm like trying to get the net in the water as quick as I can because it's next to the boat and I know that's going to be the moment he loses it. And then like honestly, I would never forgive myself if he didn't get like that would have been a video where if I missed the net jump, I would have been going in. I would have been in there trying to find the fish. Like I would have gone after it.
Just right over the edge. I got you, Bobby.
You see me coming out like I got it. Okay. Like I wouldn't have let that fish go. There was no way that fish was getting off. Just the side, I saw the side of it, and I was like, I gotta get that fish. But that's the kind of stuff. Like the first time I camped with him, dude, was like we did a podcast in the boat ramp, and those kids showed up with a pedal boat, and we're like trying this pedal boat out at 11 o'clock at night. Like, dude, anytime me and him get together, it's just chaos. But that's what I realized is like, I liked the filming of like the whole trip. I will admit. The trip looked like fun on video. It fucking sucked. Dude, it was cold. It was raining the entire time. I think I caught 6 fish the whole weekend in a destination fishery that's supposed to got the biggest smallmouth you've ever seen. I didn't even catch a smallmouth at all. I only caught largemouth in a river. I didn't even get on the main lake because it was so rough. Like, and that's the whole thing. Is that was the story I told. Is like I went out and I struggled. Like literally, the third video was just that Easter egg
Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
had
dude.
no fish, dude. I want the Bass Pro and then the Easter egg because I didn't have any fish that day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
But that's
what I
the
want to do.
gold. Yeah,
That's-
that's the gold. Like that's like the meat of it. You know, like so if you're looking at, you know, I can't even say you're building a sandwich. Like let's look at it this way. Like if you're making a cake, and you want layers to the cake, there's going to be all these different layers, and then there's the icing. Well, I feel like the fish catching is the icing. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we all want to see fish catches. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to see fish catches. I like to see hook sets. Notice I comment on all your hook set videos. They're great.
I
I'm that
actually
guy.
I made a couple for you because you told me one day you like them, and then I put a montage out. That was literally because you told me you like those.
And I appreciate it. I love that stuff. But the story is what will
Yeah.
keep me watching a video. Because if I watch 20 minutes of fish catching, I'm like, after the first couple, I'm like scrolling to the hook set, of course, and then scrolling to the fish. Like the fight and all that stuff, I'm familiar with, you know, which is relatable. But what is drawing me in as a viewer, like what draws me in as a viewer, period, is like the relatable story. You
Yep.
know, like I want to know, like, I mean, I want to know what you know, how what a struggle it was to take a shit in the morning, but like I want to know like the struggle that you have throughout the whole
Yep.
day. Like not, I want to know what you're going through, like not why you're changing baits, because yeah, you're changing baits because it doesn't work. But I want to know the whole process up to that point, like
Yep.
all the errors that made that decision possible. You know, like I want to know all that because as an angler and as an avid angler, I have trouble making decisions sometimes. So when I watch somebody else having trouble making those decisions or not having trouble making those decisions, I want to know why. I want to know what in their mentality got them to that point, or how they just literally go, "This doesn't work, but I know this will." You know, you and me have talked about like this sixth sense, confidence down the line and all that kind of stuff, and the
Yep.
exchange of energy. But like I feel like there's another like portion of that that tells a person when it's time to cut and run or change baits or whatever. And like I want to see that whole process. I want to see the brain unfold. I want to see the emotional struggle. Like I relate to that because that will keep me into it. That's a story, you know. And at the end of the day, whether there's fish or not, fish is icing. You know, we could have a cake with no icing. That's fine. I eat pound cake all the time. But like, you understand what I'm saying? Like that will just. I feel like, and the way you do it, like the way you express yourself and how you talk, I feel like you're going to do so well at that. You know,
So
it's going to
that
be
what you're
really
gonna like
interesting.
about that series is what's cool about it is I literally got like I geeked out on it. Like I drew maps, dude. Like I broke lakes into zones and I show like Google Maps, like this is zone one and this is how far I literally figured out how to make like animated lines. So I'm like, this is how far I've gone so far, and this is what like I'm breaking it down, like really breaking it down, not just being like, oh, I fished a bluff wall with a jig. It's like, okay, today we're going to start here. We're going to fish zone one. We're going to go here. I'm drawing a line on a map. I'm showing you all of this stuff. One of the things I'm going to do
Yeah.
next year that I've actually really liked that Bailey from Serious Angler started doing is I suck at talking about like bait specifics, and I know some people really want to know what rod type, what reel, whatever. So what
Yeah.
he does, which is smart, and I didn't think about it until I saw it in a bunch of videos that he does. He just does a little graphic that's like rod, line, bait, whatever, and it just pops up
Mhm.
on the screen when
Mhm.
after he caught the fish and release it. It's just there for you to read. So I don't have to mentally go, this was caught on an FX medium heavy fast with 12 pounds. I can't mentally disengage from the environment enough to remember to tell you that that was on a 3 EWG gamma. I can't do it. I can
Yep.
tell
Yep.
you watching that video when I'm editing later, I can tell you what hook it is, where I bought it, what line it is, when I put it on my reel. I have that memory, but in the heat of the moment and when I'm in nature, I'm not wired like that. So I'm going to start doing more graphics and stuff. And the other thing is I bought the cap for my truck so that I can I actually have a cap and a diesel heater. So I'm actually gonna be doing ice fishing. I have a ice fishing camp out planned.
Oh yes,
So I'm
that's
going
awesome.
to be, there's a boat ramp that I'm going to be able to go. It's actually where all my ice fishing footage from last year pretty much is from. Literally the boat ramp has a porta potty. It's a campground boat ramp, so it's just a big parking lot with basically a dirt ramp. But Janelle, Enthusiast Adventurer, is going to be meeting me up here, and she's
Oh,
coming up
awesome.
with the bus. So she's going to be doing. Now she has to come because I've said it. And now it's official. It's a plan
Yeah.
we've been making since the Cayuga trip, but she's going to come up with the bus. She's going to camp there. I'm going to stay at least one night, if not two. It's not even that far from my house. I wanted to stay. So I bought one of those like Chinese diesel heaters with the duct thing. I'm actually going to build a whole unit so I can heat it. I'm not going to run the heater in my truck. It's going to be outside of my truck pumping heat in so I don't die of carbon monoxide. But you're going to get
Like Nick.
not only you're not gonna, yeah, exactly. You're not going to get a video of me going ice fishing. You're going to get a video of, okay, guys,
Hang on one second. I lost audio on you.
I don't know why, but every once in a while, like my microphone disconnects. Can you hear me now again?
Yeah, totally. But yeah, all of a sudden it went, "Doop," and I was like, oh,
It does, like, for some reason, my mic sometimes just decides it just wants to disconnect. I don't have another
yeah,
mic on my computer, so then it's like I don't know where he is. So, but no, you're that whole like camp out thing.
yeah,
Old Binya Outdoors, you would have got, hey guys, today we're ice fishing. Tip up, fish. Okay, guys, well, fishing sucked. Have a nice day. That's how that video would have gone.
yeah,
Now you're gonna
yeah,
get, okay, guys, I'm going ice fishing this weekend. We're gonna build a setup for my heater. And here's how I'm going to organize my truck cap so that I can sleep in here in the wintertime. This is what I'm doing to make it warmer. That's what
yeah.
you're going to get. You're going to get that, then showing up, hanging out with her. You're going to get some of the conversation. And I will tell you right now, you've hung out with Bobby in person. What you guys see on YouTube, believe it or not, because I know a lot of it doesn't look very censored, that's the censored version of the interactions with Bobby. Because there's some conversations I can't even put on YouTube because I'll get banned. But that's the kind of stuff that I want to put some of the cool conversations, the banter back and forth, because I learned throughout the 2024 year, some of the best videos I had were me and my teammate bear fishing from doing tournaments in Slay Nation. It wasn't the point of fishing that really got people interested. It was when me and him were like, do you ever shut the fuck up, or like talking trash to each other, which is literally where
Yes.
that Shut Up Binya name comes from. Is every once in a while, like, I'll just not be catching and just doing like I do on a podcast where I just verbal diarrhea at him, and then he'll just stop and look at me and go, do you ever shut the fuck up? That's where Shut Up Binya came from.
That's awesome.
That's literally where that podcast name came from. But that's
I
so
love
kind
it.
of going back to what you're saying. Yes, I'm gonna have more video series. So more of my videos are going to be, even if it's one video, it's going to be more of the whole day encompassed instead of just, hey guys, we're on the water. Here's a bass. Here's a bass. Here's a bass. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy even making those videos anymore. And I honestly only made them because when I started doing YouTube, the algorithm changed. So I will say this does have a lot to do with, sorry guys, getting a little nerdy with the YouTube stuff. But at the end of the day, back in the day, everybody would click off my video in 30 seconds if I did a lot of B-roll and a big intro and didn't get right to the fishing. My analytics showed me that people were clicking off in 20 seconds. I finally have, in my opinion, a cool group of fans like Scott Vermonter, Dave, the guys that are in the chat right now, Pete, actually, who's Pete Stoneman. So Stoneman Lures is Stoneman from Dark Horse. That's Pete Stoneman.
Oh, that's rad.
That's
What's up, dude?
That's the same dude. So those guys will watch every video. Like, I can tell you that I have at least 12 fans because I get 12 views on every video regardless of what it is.
That's awesome.
Well, it's because
Yeah.
people watch it. But I've noticed that, like, Now I'm getting way more. People are getting way further into my videos, and I realized what it was is how I was introducing my videos was the problem. It wasn't the fact that I was making long videos. So I started making short fish catch, quick videos because I thought that's what everybody wanted. What I realized is what they wanted was me yelling at a goose to not bite my lipless. They wanted me getting the crap scared out of me because a snapper turtle popped up next to my kayak. They don't. Yeah, the fish catches, like you said, are cool, but they want the story. They want the fact that I had a bad day. Like some of my best videos, and it's weird and tough to talk about sometimes, dude. Some of my best videos were like the ones where I was like, yeah, my dog is sick, and I'm probably gonna have to put my dog down. And people like reached out. Like I didn't realize like people actually list. Like that was like late in the video, and people were like.
Mhm.
Messaging me like, dude, I'm so sorry about your dog. They would like talk, like people were actually like wanting to interact with me about content from the video. And that's what made
Yeah.
me realize that Binya Outdoors as a channel isn't a fish catching channel anymore. It's me. It's literally me just being me on camera and showing you guys my life. It's more of
Yeah,
a
or else,
vlog than it is a fishing video, really.
you could call your channel fish catching from a kayak. It's not what it is. It's Binya Outdoors. It's you outdoors. So
It's
that
me
that
outdoors.
I
It's
like
me
that.
being out there.
I
And
like that
that's the
direction, dude. That's
direction I
awesome.
want to go with it because honestly, and I'll admit, I can't compete with Tactical Basset on Tip Tricks videos. I can't compete with Alex Rudd for bait technique videos, stuff like that. That's not my game. That's not how I roll. I roll down a bank and throw a wacky rig half of the time. It's not really exciting to
Yep.
watch necessarily. But when I catch a fish and I do something stupid or I hook my foot on the kayak or that's what I want to do. Or honestly, it's going to be stuff like you guys are going to see. You don't know how many times, and I hope she's still watching so she can get the credit for this. How many times my wife has showed up to the boat ramp because I forgot my fucking life jacket or batteries for my camera or memory cards. Or one day, literally, I think it was a Dark Horse box actually delivered to the house, and my wife messaged me and I was like, damn it, because I wanted to fish those but they didn't come in yet, and she drove the baits to the boat. Like that's the kind of stuff that like I'm gonna film from now on. Like
Dude,
the wife
shout out
showing
to
up to bail
wifey.
me
Yeah.
out. Yeah, like she bails me out and comes brings me the shit that I forgot.
You know what you have to do now, though, right? You have to leave a GoPro at home so she can film herself with all her personal content and like comments and stuff on that whole drive over.
Yeah, exactly. Like pick the GoPro up and just start it and be like, I can't fucking believe you forgot his fucking GoPro again. God damn.
Be so good. That'd be awesome.
But that's
See,
the kind of direction I want to go with it. And the thing is it's like this is something that I saw on a YouTube creator video. Like I watch a lot of like videos on like how to make content because I'm
Yeah.
trying to like get better at my skills. But one thing that they said, which makes sense, is, and it sounds really dumb, but like if you make a video, right, and then you go back and watch it, if you find yourself wanting to fast forward, you're not done making your video yet.
Yep.
If you're not willing to go back and watch your whole video from end to end again, then other people probably aren't either.
Yeah.
And that's the lesson I had to learn. So then I started adding cool transitions, cool B-roll. Like one of the reels I put up recently with the stupid geese.
Yeah.
That was B-roll I had recorded that I just never found a spot for. So, and that's the other thing I've learned is like I record weird stuff like that because sometimes it works in the video and sometimes I can use it as a reel or I can throw it in somewhere else. And that's the thing I always struggled with. It was like when I had a bad day of fishing, I would get even more stressed out because I got 3 days a week to fish, and my goal is to try to put out 2 videos a week during the fishing season. Once I get to the off season, like the videos you guys are about to see in January and February and March, some of those are made 2023 that I stashed.
Oh wow.
Because
awesome.
I wanted to have something. I want to try to have a video a week. I started a podcast, so at least I have something every week, regardless. But what I learned is if I make a video about how I woke up late, god damn it, I'm struggling to get to the lake, people are going to be invested just in that before I even get to the water. And the tournament videos, I always was like, I wonder why my tournament videos get more views than anything else. And it's because they want to see if I suck. Like, it's not really they want to see me catch big fish. They want to see if I failed or succeeded. So they'll watch the whole video to see if I failed or succeeded. I can do that with other videos. And I never made that stupid recollection of like, I don't have to just do that in a tournament video. I can build the anticipation of I woke up late, slept through my alarm. I wanted to get to the lake at 6:30. It's now 9 o'clock. I'm still going because screw it. I'm just going to go fishing. Let's see what happens. I could record all that instead of just having that fight with myself on the way to the boat ramp. Turn the camera on and have that fight with myself on the way to the boat ramp and let you guys enjoy the fact that I screwed up this morning. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to, that's the direction I want to go, because I think it's more, those are the videos I like. That's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped watching YouTube fishing, because you can only watch the 5 best baits of November video so many times before you get sick of watching it. But you can watch guys like Alex Rudd, because Alex Rudd like talking to his wife about the dog and then catches a fish on a Berkeley Money Badger. Like, he's not force feeding you information, but he does provide you good information. But he's just like, my goal for next year, to summarize it in this long-winded answer that I gave you, is I want you to feel like you're in my backpack coming along with me, like I'm in a reality show.
Yeah, day in life. Yeah.
You're just following me around when I'm on my fishing trips. And that's kind of the goal. If I don't catch any fish, you still maybe, because I'll tell you, I fished with a lot of people that will like ask to go fish with me again because I'm entertaining as shit, because I have an ADHD brain and I'll start singing songs or doing dumb shit on the water, or like when I'm fishing bear fishing, sometimes I'll fuck with him and I'll just sit there and cast next to him when he's not looking, and he'll think there's fish jumping around him.
Yep.
I'll tie on like a 3/4 ounce jig and throw it just far enough away from his kayak where he'll be like, dude, do you see that fish? I'm like, yeah, dude, you should cast right there. And I'm sitting there giggling, watching him fish for my jig. Like,
yes.
Like one day I skipped my kayak I skipped my wacky rig into his kayak. Like, I hit his kayak like 3 times in a row, purposely just skipped it right up, hit his kayak and let it fall using his kayak as cover, and caught a fish under his kayak.
Yes.
It's shit like that where it's like, that's just as fun as me catching a 5-pounder.
Dude, yeah. Exactly. So. It really is. It really is. Because I mean, that's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so.
It's kind of like
my buddy.
It's like the whole angler. It's the whole experience. You know what I mean? It's not just the fish catches.
Yes. And like my buddy Andy, like I love my buddy Andy, and like I've fished under his kayak for fish many a times. Like, it's super fun. But like all that stuff, that's the relatable stuff, is when it's you and your homie or you out there and you're just it doesn't always have to be bait, this, that, you know, because I don't know if, you know, you say it's the algorithm. I just say people. Like, I feel like people's attentions are they've got since 2020 guys setting the hook and showing fish. But I think like really the people that are left, because you know everybody kind of went back to work or whatever. The people that are left are more interested in the actual person themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still click on.
Yep.
Well, I click on Red. I click on Red a lot because that dude just cracks me up. Like, he's just, he's just his charisma. He's got that riz or whatever the kids say, you know. But I watch guys like that because, like, not only are they going to tell you a story, or not only are they going to be informational or talk about whatever lure they're fishing, but like you said, he's like on the phone. Like, how many times are you fishing and your wife calls or somebody calls and you got to answer the phone and you're sitting there like, that's so freaking relatable. You're like, oh yeah, dude. Da, 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 da. Hang on one second, but you know, like,
And that's kind of like, that's the whole idea behind it. Is I realized about my channel next year, and it's something I'm gonna really work hard at, is production value is gonna go up. It's definitely gonna go up, and that's a lot of it has to do with better equipment, but also like people don't watch TV anymore.
No, dude.
So if you make, like, in my mind, if I can make something that comes off more like, oh, I'm watching the next episode of Binya Outdoors, instead of, oh, I'm watching him catch 5 fish, more people that maybe not even interested in bass fishing just want to watch the reality show that is my dumbass doing antics on the lake in my hopefully gigantic boat. But that's kind of the idea behind it, is that I can go out there and, like, the certain series is like I'm trying to run. My goal is to record next year. I'm gonna be recording so much content, but I'm gonna try to run like literally a TV series. Like it's gonna be every other week. There's gonna be like a spring and a fall show.
Mhm.
That's going to be like
Okay.
me breaking down, like me tackling a lake that I've never fished before and me struggling to figure it out. And the whole premise behind it, and I'll give that away, is I basically set like a limit. So like I have to have the first lake. I have I think I set it at 70 inches. So I have to catch 5 separate days of 70-inch bags. So it's a consistency thing.
That's
It's not I go there and
yeah.
have a good day. It's I want to have 5 good days or 3 good days or whatever. I'll kind of determine that. Honestly, it's going to be something where I'll admit right now, a little behind the curtains deal. It's going to be something where after I've fished it for a couple of months, I'm going to make that decision and then record that part for the intro. But
Well,
it's going to
what
be
if you
something
gave
where,
yourself a rough average goal? What if
and
you
that
gave yourself a rough average goal, like 50 one day, 80 the other day? All right, cool. I'm looking at 65 inches is what I'm looking for. You know,
yeah, and that's
like
kind of the idea is I want to be able to be. My goal is to go to a lake. Anytime I go to a lake, as I want to be consistent. I don't live in a place. I don't live in Texas. I'm not fishing OHIV. I don't have the Delta right next to me.
bro, be
I'm not,
careful. That place is garbage right now. But go ahead, go ahead.
I don't have the state record here is 10 pounds, caught in 83.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not, and the state record smallmouth, which surprises people, is like 7. It's not that big.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that
No.
big. That's the thing. Now, the thing is, you can catch 4-pounders all day on Champlain, but
Oh wow.
it's not that big of a fish. So the thing is like catching record fish isn't going to really happen for me as a rule. I mean, my record PB small or largemouth is like 7.25.
Yeah.
But weird,
Which is a big fish,
it is
dude.
a huge fish. But what's weird is it's on a lake that I consider to be my home lake, and that 7.25 was only 20 inches long. So it's a football
Oh
large.
yeah, I was just fucking or just super fat.
Yeah, the problem is this lake has crappie and big bluegill, and these things they blimp themselves up. And I know how to
Yeah.
fish that particular lake. But that's what sounds really arrogant, but it's also like why I want to do this series. That is a lake that I can go to. We went there for our first tournament. I caught 96
Yeah.
inches with my teammate in spring on spawn.
Yeah. It's Old
Like,
Faithful. Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
go there and I can catch fish. Pretty much. If I don't catch fish there, you do not want to be near me. I am a miserable prick for 3 days because that is a lake that I just expect. And I'm not talking 5-pounders. I'm talking I'll catch 5 14 inchers. But I know I can catch 5 14 inchers every time I go there.
Yeah.
So when I
Yep,
don't,
that's
it's real bad. But the other thing is, by July, I'm bored of that place
yeah.
because I know I can catch fish there. I like the challenge. I want to go to a place and be able to say, I can go to this place and catch 60 inches, 50 inches, 70 inches. And that's kind of what that series is about, is going to these places and being able to catch an average. Now, I'm not going to make that average on, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to catch 5-pounders. That's just not going to happen. But I want to kind of get an idea, figure out what's there, and then be like, okay, this is a good day on this lake. I want to do this 3 more times in different conditions, and then I'll consider that a successful show. And that's kind of what the idea behind that is, people in my mind, if I was watching a show like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I want to see if he can do it. Because honestly, there was an episode in this show that and the funny part is the show that releases in May, it's not done yet. I ran out of time.
Oh, okay.
I started it late in the year. I got 5 episodes in, and then it got cold, and I can't fish anymore. So literally, you may even see me in an entirely different kayak for the second part of that show because I literally, by the time you get to the end of that show, I'll already have the new kayak, and maybe because I record, like, I will literally show you a day where I only catch 1 fish, but I'm also going to go into I didn't catch fish because this condition, and I think this is what I did wrong, and this is what I should do next time, and this is the baits. Like, I give you the recap that I do on, and I know you do it too because you're an angler. That drive home from the ramp is I should have fucking thrown that jig. I knew I didn't throw the jig. I should have thrown. Like, you
Yep.
have this, and you're an athlete too with skateboarding and stuff too. So you have that, like,
Yep.
I should have switched the wacky rig earlier, or why did I leave that lay down. I should have fished it a little bit longer. You do that play by play. That's what this series is about. You get that. You get me going. I should have done this. This is this is the mistakes I made. This is what I'm going to do next time to make up for it. And that's kind of the, I don't know. It's like I said, I'm kind of rambling about it, but I'm kind of excited about it too, because it's like a different way of portraying it. But then, you know, I go and I catch 3 fish, and like a video I would have just deleted and formatted the memory cards on the way home turns
Yeah.
into another episode, because you guys see
Oh,
the
yeah.
drama and the disparaged, pissed off Binya driving home mad because he didn't catch any fish today.
But that's, I mean, okay, so that's super dope though. Like, because it goes back to exactly what you and me were talking about. Like, I want to see like that mental battle. I want to see that emotional struggle. Like, that's super relatable. Like you said, like that. I should have fished that Jake. Do you know how many times I said, man, I should have just dropped everything and gone flipping because I know how to do that. You know. Oh yeah, dude. So I can't wait for that. And so when you saying you're going to drop that one, it's going to be next year.
So they're starting in May, and it's mostly just because, and this is YouTube world, but my videos. So right now, this is I'm trying to think. This is the last Spawn episode of the year.
Oh, it's a season ender.
I'm ending the season with you. I will do
Hey!
some Shut Up Binyas, because I don't do any episodes the week of the holidays, because everybody's with family, and
Yeah.
it's just live stream stuff like that. I don't even do like video releases from like the 20th of December to January 6th. I just block that window out. It's kind of like my break, basically. And then I'm starting back up in January with live podcasts every other week, either Spawn or Binya, you know, me making baits in my shed, stuff like that. But the fact is like that's gonna start. Like I haven't decided yet, because it depends on how much ice fishing content I get, to be honest. Because I have a video every other week until May already.
Yeah.
But if I get ice fishing content, I may throw that in and get extra videos, and then I might bump this other stuff back, because if I can start fishing in March, then I don't want to start releasing that. The reason why it's starting in May is essentially with every other week, it gives me to the middle of June to get more episodes, because it's going to be like, I want people to be able to binge it is the idea. I want to be able to release a video every 2 weeks and not have to have you wait a month before the next episode because I haven't fished yet, because I ran out of time. In that window of time from spring till the middle of June, I'm also literally, I already have 1 episode of this fall version of that show recorded. So then I'm stockpiling it, so that my goal is to have a spring and a fall, and it's called Breaking. I literally do like a Breaking Bad theme. It's like Breaking Bomo is the name of the series. It's like Bombazina is the lake. So literally it's Breaking Bomo, and then there's the next lake is going to be Breaking whatever lake, and then go from there. And it's just this.
Dude, I like it.
Thing. It's just this.
Now, are you gonna get like the bald head covering and like put the glasses and the mustache and like, do like a Breaking Bad?
There will be some interesting stuff. I have some cool. I'll actually show you. Like I can show you one of the intros, but like I did a lot more production in this stuff. Like there's a lot more graphics. There's animation stuff. I'm actually working on trying to get even better at it. But like. I literally spent 3 hours one day trying to figure out how to make like a kayak like move along like a map plot like animation. Like the boats like moving, so I can show like how far I've traveled and stuff. Becca actually does it in her videos. And I actually reached out to her to see if I could figure out how she does it, because I'm not sure, she's just like using something. But that's the cool thing about this world, is I have enough content creation buddies that I can be like, hey dude, you make cool graphics, you know, how do you do that? So but my idea is to try to do more and more of that kind of stuff. And honestly, one of the things, again, I'm probably giving away too much right now, but one of the things I want to do, which is why I want to start that season so late, is one of the episodes I'm going to try to do live. That particular lake is one of the lakes that I can do live streams from. So I want to do like, and I'm going to obviously promote it, but I'm like, okay, guys, the next episode is going to be a live episode of Breaking Bomo. And then I'm going to literally just turn my phone on and just stream it. I'll still record it, and then that way people can watch it later too. But like, it's going to be like
Yeah.
at least a portion of the day, as long as I have service and my phone doesn't die from the sun, is going to be like a live edition of the show, you know. And that's the kind of stuff that like I geek out about. Like if I saw a show like that, I'm like, oh, I want to see what happened next week. Like Bailey's Chasing Hardware on Serious Angler. Like he has a whole series about his tournament fishing, and he did like the Chasing Hardware stuff, and basically he did that, and you want to know if he won or not. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
But yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube stuff, but I mean, I love a lot of the content creation stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
you know, kind of like what you're talking about. Like, I love it. Like I was saying, I watch Red. I watch a couple of the shows, and of course, like I watch like if one of my homies or there's a podcast that's jumping on YouTube, I watch that too, just because I like sometimes I can picture stuff what's going on, and when I'm listening to it on podcast, when I actually get to see it, like it's a whole nother ball game. I really like it, but like.
right.
I like the story. Like I like that. I like that's what really involves me. So what ends up happening is like I've watched a bunch of content creators for a while, and then with if there's not really a story going on, then I'm like
Boring.
it kind of gets lost on me real
I
fast.
dude,
You know?
I
So
subscribe to a lot of people that I don't
mhm.
watch their videos, and I will admit that because they're my buddies, and I wanted to like help them hit their subscriber count. But what's
Yeah,
happened, and it's funny, I always wondered. It's actually I had this realization this week. And it's funny that you say that. So like I used to watch fucking YouTube was like fishing content was like all I did,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. hmm
Now, dude, I find myself struggling to find a fishing video that I'm like, oh, I need to watch this one. You know what I mean? Like I'm at a
Yeah,
point, I hit like a weird plateau where like unless it's a specific, like you said, it's like unless there's a story, I'll admit the only people I watch regularly are Rudd, Mikey Balls, and Bobby stuff just because I want to help Bobby grow his channel.
yeah. I love Bobby stuff. Like I love Bobby stuff, and the way
Like
he uses his B-roll, I love
yeah,
it. I think it's great.
like
I love
I
what
will.
he's doing.
And my boy Bear Fishing when he finally gets his shit together and puts videos out. Hint, hint, dude, edit your videos. I give him so much crap, but that's the
Just
other thing
call him
about
up.
having
Just
content creator buddies is like I give him
bro,
so much shit.
take his videos, you put them out, and call them the Lost Files of Bear.
Oh, I've offered. I'm like, dude, he's like, I don't have time to edit. I'm like, send them to me, dude. I'll edit them.
Yep.
I'll send them
I
back
can
to you
do
cut, and
that.
then you just throw them together. But yeah, dude, that's
Yep.
the whole thing. Is like, there's a lot of YouTube stuff that, and it's not because the content's not good, and don't necessarily take this as like I think these guys don't make good videos. It's just like
No.
there's a point in the year, and I'll tell you right now, come April, I probably will be back to watching a lot of videos. But you can only watch so many best 5 November baits videos and the best
Oh yeah.
cold
No.
baits
No.
to
No.
use in cold water, and like everybody does the same videos, which is literally why I'm trying to spin my channel in a different direction because I'll be honest, one, I don't like watching those and I get bored with them and I stop watching a lot of content because of it, and two, I can't compete with Mikey Balls and Alex Rudd and Serious Angler Podcast, and I'm not going to get views over them. So if I'm making a video about how to fish a Ned rig, are you going to watch the dude from Vermont with 1,000 subscriber teach you how to fish a Ned rig, or are you going to watch Tactical Bassin or Alex Rudd, or you know what I mean? Or Mike Iconelli. Like you're not gonna. I don't have the name recognition to be able to draw those people in. What I do have is a really quirky personality that apparently people like to watch on the internet, which is what I've kind of learned about this channel. Is that's honestly it actually couldn't be more perfect of a plug of your podcast. Is like mentally, fishing has changed for me because content and fishing have become one entity, but
Yeah.
my psyche has completely changed about like the self-confidence that I get from making content and people enjoying me being me, because I was always kind of afraid to show the dumb antics and the crap that I do and the weird inappropriate jokes that I make when I'm fishing with my buddies. And then I realized like more views, longer watch times. When I do put those videos out, those are the ones that hit, and those are the ones that people comment on, and those are the ones that people message me and go, dude, that was a really good video. That looked like a lot of fun that day. And then I'm like, oh, it's like this, like, it's like a Prozac, it's like a boost. It's an emotional boost of like, people actually enjoyed this video. They had fun. I had fun making it. That's the direction I'm going to go. And that's
Yes.
really what it was. Is it was just this like whole like psyche boost of like fishing. And that's one of the things about fishing that, you talk about a lot, and you mention it, like, and I know you've got plans to talk about other stuff in that same vein. Is fishing for a lot of people is their release. It's their Prozac. It's their get away from stresses in life.
Yeah.
And if I can help with that by making content that people enjoy when they can't go fishing, then, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, hell yeah. And what I've found from doing the podcast and like talking to people, not just on the podcast, but off the podcast, is like that's not necessarily everybody's truth,
No,
which is crazy
no.
to me. Like
Yeah.
some people don't need that break from life. Like
No.
I just had an episode dropped today. Samantha Brophy, and she has a phenomenal view on life. Like it's bar none some of the best stuff I've heard. Like when it comes to like PMA, like she really she doesn't go fishing because she needs a break from life. She doesn't go camping or outdoors because she needs a break from life. Like she's created a life for herself that she loves and
Yep.
is just a part of that. And I thought it was a great I, that whole episode, bro. I'm gonna tell you that whole episode. Like I was under the impression from somebody that she was totally somebody else. I was given the impression that she was totally something else. And then we started talking, and I realized that she was not what I was told she was. I was like, okay, well, we'll see. And what I was beyond ecstatic. Like it went better than I assumed that episode was going to go. And like the nuggets of emotional maturity that she has, it was just like,
Yep.
man, like I'm 42 years old and I don't have that good of an outlook on life. Like that's insane. Like she's wise beyond her years. And like when it comes to the whole fishing content thing, like it sounds like what you're trying to give people is like a dose of what you feel about it,
Yep.
which is exactly what people are, well, not what people, but exactly what people like me are looking for. Like I want to be in your shoes. Like I want to be out there fishing with you. Like I want to see what this is like, and by you giving me that experience, both like the fishing, the story, and then the emotional ups and downs, and who you are, like you're saying, your quirky personality, I just think you're funny as shit. So
Yeah.
like all that humor in there, like all that real life humor, like the fishing is secondary in that case. Like
Yep.
you're giving me exactly what I'm looking for when I'm going to look at your videos. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, and
I
that's
applaud
the cool thing about it is like it makes collaborations more fun because it's not like, honestly, that's one of the things that like I loved doing collaborations, and I realized I had all these things that I was doing that I
Mhm.
didn't realize that's everybody always says like find your niche in the YouTube world and run with it. And I kept running away from it. Like I
Yeah.
would go fishing with buddies, we wouldn't catch fish,
Mhm.
I would make a video. But then like going back and thinking about it, like we had like one of the things my buddy Brad, so he's one of the guys that I compete with. I made the joke about like how when you catch a fish, it's kind of like us getting abducted by aliens, and we were like making that joke, like because that joke's always like a fisherman like classic. And I was talking about it, and I left it in the video. Normally, I would have edited that out, and that's the kind of stuff that like we didn't really catch any fish for like 3 hours, but we had this like 5-minute conversation about how like, oh man, can you imagine like you get pulled out of the water and you're telling your friends like, dude, I got pulled out of the water. This weird creature just kept putting his hands in my mouth, calling me a pretty girl, and like saying how big I was for some reason, and then he threw me back in the water. And that's where my brain goes, and that's the conversations I have with people. I was just afraid to put that stuff on the internet because I was like, people are gonna think I'm weird because I have a weird brain. And that's shit that like I literally have had times where like I've been sitting there giggling, but not saying anything. And people around me are like, what? And I'm like, dude, you wouldn't understand because I don't want to like I laughed at one dude. There was a dude chasing geese off of his beach one day for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like he was sitting in his house and I'm fishing and I'm sitting there flipping a mat. And then I hear him go on, get. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm watching and this dude comes out. He runs out with a broom and chases geese off of his beach. And as soon as he gets in his house, the geese go right back up on his beach, and they just lay back down in his sand. And I'm just sitting there laughing, and I'm like talking to myself, and I'm like, this guy is never gonna get these goddamn geese off of there. These geese are just laughing at this guy. Like I'm having this whole dialogue with myself about this guy chasing geese off of his, and I did put part of it in the video, but that's the kind of stuff that like I didn't realize that like people would be entertained by, because like I used to just like make songs up in my head. I'm like, yeah, I'm fishing, I'm not catching shit, god fucking damn it, like I'm just doing this thing like the whole time, and then like I just never included it because I was like, yeah, that's dumb. But now I'm like, oh, people actually enjoy that stuff. So I've had a lot of people that don't like fishing that have messaged me and be like, yeah dude, I don't really like fishing content, but I'll watch your stuff because it's funny. I'm like, oh,
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's what you want to hear. You're like, well, thanks, man. Appreciate
exactly.
You
Now
know?
tell the next 4,000 of your friends, and you know, tell
Well,
them
that's
to
what I was talking
subscribe
about.
too.
Like that relatable connection. You know, that's a relatable connection. That, like you said, the guy, whoever was talking to you, they don't like fishing. They're not anglers,
Yeah.
but they like your stuff because it's relatable. It's content. It's funny. You know, like that's cool. And you know, I like felt really weird. Like when you're talking about finding your niche, this kind of sparked something in my brain. It's hard, like